Hey guys, welcome to the first episode of Tales of the Tome Table, where we sit around and talk about our campaign as well as other D&D and TTRPG related topics. Unfortunately, we had a little bit of a technical issue while filming this first episode. We lost all of the footage of both Sky and Bailey, otherwise known as Zero and Voyage, so unfortunately for this first half of the first episode, we're only going to be able to have their character art showing. Don't worry, the camera comes back on later on in the video, but we did miss out on a good chunk of it. So we thank you for your patience as we learn how to deal with all these back-end technical issues, as the entire thing is actually done by myself and Cody. We're entirely in-house and don't have any technical help outside of what we know personally, so there's probably going to be a few more issues in the future. We thank you for your patience and we hope you enjoy the first episode of Tales from the Tome Table.
Hello and welcome everyone to Tales from the Tome Table. This is our... I can't afford sound effects. This is our roundtable discussion episode where we get to spill our guts on everything campaign related, maybe get some insight to mechanics and story cues, and overall just talk about what's good in our game. This is our first episode of Tales from the Tome Table. We're currently 5 episodes into our 5-year campaign, and a bit has happened so far, to say the least. So I guess without further ado, let's drop headfirst into our episode today. Okay. So before we get into the meat and taters as of our main show that I thought we'd do here, I'm going to jump into a little section that I've aptly called Gab on the Slab.
That's literally what my notes called. Gab on the Slab.
Excellent. Ready? This is for all the ASMR lovers. There we go. I need petrol. Alrighty. So, Gab on the Slab is the preliminary part of the show that I thought that maybe we can discuss something that is game or non-game related. You know what I mean? We all have lots of hobbies and stuff outside of like D&D and tabletop that we enjoy.
I don't.
And
And that's on you, bro.
Oh, alright. You can just sit in the corner and
I
think
don't
about
even
what
have
you've
friends
done.
outside.
Oh. Me too, mate.
So I guess to make it less awkward for all you suckers, I can start this whole section because I've been fragging about it. I've been fragging on it for like the last 2 weeks. One of the guys from mine and Liam's other game group, Josh, where we played our local game shop, sent me a link to MCDM Productions, which is Matt Colville, if anyone doesn't know, does like a heap of 5e content on YouTube. His subsidiary class of 5e called the Ill Rigger, and I've been fucking obsessed with it. This fucking class is the be-all, end-all, and I don't care what anyone says. I will only exclusively play Ill Rigger ever from now on.
No, I remember you told me about that last night. It sounds like there's
It's brutal.
yeah.
For the context of people that are listening, last night we got home at about 1. We went to a medieval.
What the fuck did you guys do when I got home?
We went to a medieval fight night up in Toowoomba, which is here in Queensland, Australia, and we basically for 4 hours sat down, watched dudes in full plate just belt the absolute piss out of each other, and it was fucking
nuts. It was
awesome. Do yourself a favour, follow Tears Warriors on Instagram. It was the coolest shit that I've ever seen.
There's a team called the Brisbane Beasts, and there's this respectfully short king, and it's called Cannonball.
Yo, I looked so tall in the
And
photo. And then you commented that he was short. I was like, you motherfucker. That was my only time to pretend I was tall.
But
You're
he
outed.
was
Hard
a
out.
beast. When they did this 17, it was 17 guys free for all, and we thought oh, you know, Cannonball's he's fucking good, but against fucking 16 other blokes, maybe not. Fucking decimated them. And then they went again. They were like, anyone who wants to leave for the second round, you can get out. And I think maybe about another 6 or 7 blokes left, and Cannonball staying behind. He's just standing there with I don't know, 5'4", having ass. You know, he ain't scared of nothing. And then he won again. I was like, what the fuck?
I think we have to cut to some of your footage.
Actually, yeah, we can. We'll slip it in. We'll slip some footage in.
Oh,
you guys can
gnarly.
see. It is It's intense. 2 axes got broken in like the final 2 bouts.
Oh, they auctioned them off too.
They auctioned off the
Yeah.
hilts of the axes.
It's like $30 for a broken axe handle. There's no
The
head or
first one
anything.
was like 75, and I think the next one was like around the 50 mark.
Yeah.
Yep, it was nuts.
For a piece of wood, you could get a whole one from Bunnings.
I think it was
half
like the same bloke
Different
who got
kind of
both
axe.
them.
Yeah. Oh, bro, no. Some
No.
of those axes at Bunnings are absolutely lethal.
Oh.
No,
I
those
think
ones were
that's
different.
the
Those ones
problem.
are
I
single.
think the guys last night
Oh,
would have used
yeah.
a legitimately lethal weapon.
Good point.
Otherwise, you would have been watching a gladiator fight.
You don't entertain!
All I could think was like how ruthless that stuff would have been back in the day. Just like thousands
Oh,
of dudes.
yeah.
With
just
actual
standing
weapons
there,
that are sharp too.
going
Like,
Yeah.
toe to toe, man, just fucking swinging at each other. Oh, the rubber chicken mace.
The rubber chicken mace was unreal.
Fuck.
He was the second round. He was going at it. Like, I think the first one, I don't know if like he was just like having a lull because of the weapon. But the second one, he was like, yeah, I'll stay behind. And then he just like, just like fucking beating the shit out of people. Yeah.
Lining up people.
this has been great for me to buy time to find the thing I was looking for. So, to quickly drop in, because I don't know like how many people that like do like heavy 5e gaming in Australia really look at external content, and I don't know if that's like just the nature of like some of the guys that play games here. Like some people play games just so much differently compared to the US and like Europe and all that sort of stuff. But going through this was crazy. So the feature about the ill rigger that I liked the most was the fact that the main class itself is an ill rigger, but then there's 3 subclasses, and each subclass is dependent on a contract that you sign with the devil, and each class itself is technically a class of another. Technically a class. So I guess the like the 3 classes are the painkiller, the shadow master, and the architect of ruin. The painkiller is like your paladin, your fighter. The shadow master is like your rogue, and the architect of ruin is like the spellcaster. No matter which one you pick, it's like a D10 for health, depending on your level. Constitution and charisma, I guess, saving throws, and you get to choose skills. And you can't get feats. You're not allowed to get feats when you level up, because every level that you take, you automatically get one based on this class.
Oh, that's fair
I say
enough,
it
then.
has included feats.
Yeah.
So where it tells you what levels you get your ability score improvement, but you don't get feats. It says, but it doesn't swap, or you can take a feat, which I noticed, and I'm taking that as a very literal meaning to the text. Yeah, I won't harper on too much about it because I love this class, but it's one of those things where, well, that was the big thing. A lot of people got on there. They've been playtesting that for 4 years before it got released.
Shit, really?
4 years before they
Makes me
released
feel
it.
a little bit better about Northane now.
Yeah. They've been playtesting this class for 4 years when they released it, which I think was like maybe a year, 2 years ago, give or take. I can't remember exactly. And a lot of people were like, nah, it's too powerful, it's too powerful. And Matt Colville basically came out and said, try it in your game first before you talk about how powerful it is. Because the reason...
Sorry.
No, the laughing is correct. The laughing's right. Because it makes you feel like a fucking badass, man. You feel like, you know when you walk in, you're the baddest motherfucker in the room. Like, you get a thing automatically where it's like any roll under a 7 is automatically classified as an 8 for you for charisma checks, for intimidation, persuasion, and deception. Because you're aligned with devils, and that's kind of their whole thing. The whole class is built to be like, you're so good at it because that's your job. You're meant to work with devils, so it only makes sense. And it's mental. The fighting styles are mental. You get fighting styles you can pick that give you different buffs, like swapping out your charisma modifier instead of your strength for like your weapons and stuff. Which, if you're playing a charisma-based class, would make sense. Every subclass is crazy. They get special feats exclusive to the class, like the painkiller, which is my favorite because it's like just like Darth Vader the class. Has a 13th, yeah, literally, and has a 13th level ability called "You Die on My Command." When an ally within 30 feet or who can hear you drops to 0 hit points but is not outright killed, you can use your reaction to shout an order at them, causing them to drop to 1 hit point instead.
You die at my command.
Yeah, you die on my command. Yeah.
You're not
It's like
dying
Uno
now, yeah.
reverse.
And then there's one called By the Throat, which is basically like force choking someone from like 30 feet away. It's tight. But yes, I could harper on about this forever. It's OP as shit, and I'm going to self-insert 100 of these in every game that I play.
Fantastic.
But that's my Gab. Did anyone else have anything they wanted to chip in on for Gab on the slab before we continue?
Oh, there is a spot and I've been put on it. Jeez.
Upon the pedestal, milady.
You're good.
Nah. I just mean that was a fucking on the spot question.
Oh, yeah. Does it have to be related to?
Nope. Can be games. Can be.
Do you cosplay?
No, but I want to.
What's the movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger and the really short dude?
Twins.
Yeah, yo, we could do that.
You want to be...
That's what I was laughing at before. Because my mind was like, hang on a second, we look the same. You're a lot taller than I am.
Well, but in Twins, they don't look the same. So.
They're fraternal twins. They're not.
Oh, good.
Who is it?
What was it?
Danny DeVito.
Yeah, Danny
Yeah, that's the
DeVito.
one.
I'm a trash man. I'm a trash man.
Oh. Look,
That
I'm
was
down.
where my train of thought
I'm
was
down.
at when I laughed before when you're
I'll take the compliment that I can pull off.
You're tall enough. Like, short enough. I mean, you know, we can fucking work something out.
I'm wanting to do a cosplay of Homelander from The
Yeah, you
Boys.
fucking do that. You could
Oh.
There was a joke in my mate's group chat about that at one point, and one of the boys photoshopped my head onto Homelander. I was like, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I
nice.
gotta do that.
Sold.
That and Percy from Vox Machina.
Oh yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Percy
Yeah.
one for a while, so I'll probably be adding cosplay to my craft channel soon.
Are we going to be
Hell
cosplaying
yeah.
at a event sometime? Because I would really like to do that. If
Well,
go,
Yeah,
like,
totally be down.
I'm planning to
Comic-Con
do
or some shit?
the Abbey Medieval Festival.
Oh,
I
yes.
was
You
trying
guys
to ask you
wanted
about a LARP fest. That's right. I put it in the group about going to a LARP. fest.
Yeah.
This fucking works.
Yeah, well,
bro.
I'm going with a friend of mine, and she's like, "Are we gonna dress up?" I'm like, "Yeah." Like, oh, yeah. Come
Yeah.
That's a perfect
Oh, we
excuse
do
for me
that.
to wear a bunch of beast furs and like trousers
Yeah.
and no shirt, and it's socially acceptable.
on. You've got the Viking thing like that.
I mean, I'm not going to crash your date, but I'm going to go anyway.
No, we're going.
If
It's
I just
happening.
happen to see you there, like, hey,
It's
fancy
like
seeing you
trying
here.
to put
seems
the
like-
riz on and then
It's
send
like
you
an
a
appropriate
present.
thing for a D&D group. To,
Yeah, fucking oath. Like, yeah, I'm so keen.
When is it?
8th and 9th of July. I've been wanting to go for years, and I'm committing to this sort of stuff more lately. So
Did you maybe want to talk about
Your thing.
some of the playtesting in it, like because I know you guys have got like an Instagram for it, so maybe we could.
Oh, the Instagram's
What's it called?
poo-poo car at the moment. We need to overhaul it because it's been going on for so long, and basically like we weren't really utilizing social media in a way because we weren't ready to publicly release anything yet.
True.
So it kind of ended up being a dumping ground for a lot of the stuff we wanted to showcase that no one was really looking at. But
Did you want to talk about it a little bit?
yeah,
Try to
no,
get
I
it
can
out there?
definitely like the social media side of things, maybe not. That's a bit poo-poo caca. But in terms of the actual system itself, poo-poo caca. You good, G?
You want to give some context to the viewers so they know what we're talking about?
So basically, I am a developer for a homebrew tabletop RPG system. It's not based on any other tabletop RPG, like it's not an add-on or a module or anything like that. We're building it from the ground up. It works on a percentile system. So if you were to pick up a sheet of it, the closest you'd probably be able to akin it to is maybe Warhammer.
Call of Cthulhu probably more likely. Call of Cthulhu uses D10s and like percentiles and stuff.
Oh yeah.
They'll probably be pretty close.
Yeah, I'm probably thinking of our earlier renditions because we've been through like massive system overhauls and changing the mechanics of it. We've probably gone maybe through like 8 iterations now. We've gone through like many other small ones though. But anyways, long story short, we're doing playtesting for it now. We've got a Discord. It's called the Norbane campaign. And we're doing playtesting with people that have either never touched the system before or never touched a tabletop RPG before.
Spicy.
And so we're really wanting to see how either people that aren't familiar with tabletop RPGs are able to interact with the system to see if it's beginner friendly, and to see if it can also cater to people that are more experienced in the tabletop RPG community. Like, you know, would this interest you? Not over other systems, would it interest you enough to give it a crack instead of another system? And so far, we haven't done any of the actual player playtests yet. We've done quite a few dev playtests because we've added a lot of classes. We have 24 classes. And like 14 ancestries, which is like the equivalent of races. And so with a lot of classes coming in now, we're having to do a lot of playtesting. But we're going to be starting the new player playtesting soon.
I actually have a question with that.
Yep.
Obviously, Norbane's such a I have had the opportunity to look at like a lot of those like early documents when we were like you were running me through it, so I could like get my head around it and all that sort of stuff. Do you feel like with such a heavy onset of information out the bat, do you think it might be a bit intimidating, or do you feel like you guys will be quite confident in being able to lay it out in a way that's inviting to newer players?
So that is actually I guess point of interest that I had brought up at a dev meeting not too long ago, actually, that we had too much going on at once. And I basically had put forward to the development team, would you be comfortable making a core book? And then we can basically conquer and divide what we feel like we could do without in the core book, and then add them as later sort of
Like supplements,
extras.
yeah.
And I've been suggesting it for a while. There was a bit of pushback effect. Well, we've been working on it for over a decade now, so there's a lot of sentimentality attached to it, and obviously, you know, they're really passionate about it, so they want to give it all to everyone at once. And as time's gone by, sort of pushing it more from like a marketable perspective and going like, you know, we don't want to bombard new players. It's slowly come around, and eventually we're able to get like sort of a skeleton down on what we would take away from the core if we were to release a core book and then section it off. And we've got a pretty good idea of sort of the order we're going to release it and what we're going to release and when. So that's come around now. So I think the worry about info bombing is starting to sort itself out. But with these play tests, because we want to make sure all the facets are enjoyable before we go ahead with them. Unfortunately, the people play testing are probably going to get info bombed. So
have you thought about doing like kind of like with D&D? They've got like the intro small mini rule books, like your
essentials kits and
you know,
starter
so
kits.
you have like a little 40-page book that's just
that's
like
not a bad idea,
maybe
actually.
half dozen basic ones,
What
and then
you
you've got a
need.
bigger rule book.
No, I dig that.
The player
Yeah.
handbook.
Yeah, because like for people first
DMs.
getting a taste of something, it's a lot less production to make a small, you know, paperback book that's just like, okay, here's a cool little idea, and
No,
then
I
for those
dig
who
that.
like it, here's the giant fat.
Maybe,
Yeah.
and
Here's an
maybe even
encyclopedia.
because like I've had a glimpse into the like the statistics that are required to make a character, because the dev who's been assigned to help me write up, Steph has like sent me a lot of that info to look at, and there are a lot of numbers off the bat that you have to learn, which can be tricky and quite intimidating. I feel like pre-generated character sheets would be a good one if you guys really want to start like actually going like semi-public with it. But that's a lot of stuff that will happen as time naturally goes on.
Oh,
You should
yeah,
do
for
a
sure.
one shot when it's ready
Oh,
for the
100%.
challenge.
Oh,
You could
I'd
run a
love to do
game.
that. I would love to do that. I'm
Do it.
been playing it for a hot minute now, so I'm fairly confident with it. So I would really like to, but
Do it.
I'm excited to see what you do with what I gave you.
man, I knew as soon as like you two guys became play testers, I was all like, it's just gonna be big stick on the head. That's it. Bam, bam. Thank you, ma'am. Like,
Give him the bonk.
I'm kind of excited. Like honestly, like it's
yeah, it is like from a realistic standpoint. Like I do probably more so than anyone else because I struggle to read big lots of information as well. It is really intimidating. And that's why when we did the playtest, instead of just giving like a whole bunch of documents to people and going figure it out yourselves, we have the mentors there to like basically hold your hand and walk you through it, because we do understand it's a bit of an intimidating system. And basically with these playtests that we're doing and going through that character creation building process for you, we want that feedback of stuff that was a bit too much too far, stuff that's too complicated straight off the bat. And so like we really want to be hearing if it's like too
got a
much too fast.
doozy for you. I'll tell you later. Though.
Okay, no worries, we'll put a pin in that.
Cool.
I just had a meltdown.
Oh, you're
My brain
autistic
was
too?
like,
Oh, you
oh,
do?
bro, my brain was like, man, there's so much happening right now.
It's like that meme with the old love from the movie with all the mathematical equations.
Oh, that might also partially be my fault,
Or
because
your
like
cat.
when you're all like, yeah, I would like this, and I was all like, you gonna love this.
I was sitting there, I was like, oh my god.
I was on my smoke break like.
So many numbers. I was like, cannot compute like just brackets, numbers, and all this shit. I was like,
I'm pretty sure some of the numbers got swapped for letters in there at some point.
Algebraic expressions.
Yeah, you need to have a PhD to play this game. I'm sorry.
roll a d4 and pick the number and be like, yeah, that's what I'm going with.
Can I just flip a coin? Oh my lord. Did
That's
anyone...
awesome. I didn't know you were doing that. But
Yeah, I
that's-
know, right? Yeah.
No, if you're interested to get in on it, feel free. Like, even if you just want to jump in and
someone
have
else to
a
have a little look through.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no.
I'm
Any.
fascinated by all this kind of stuff.
Did anyone else have anything they wanted to add in before we go into the meat and taters?
I think someone-
So, I've officially moved house now. So streaming for All Caffeine No Talent will be back up very soon.
Yes,
Very good.
Don't know how to screen share on my iPad, but I'll figure it out and I'll be on
We'll
it.
figure it out. We'll make it janky and it'll work.
Plug my iPad into my Mac, run my Mac through Discord. I don't know. We'll figure it
Yeah.
out. It'll be a whole thing.
OBS plus Streamlabs plus everything else. until
Oh,
it
the
works.
links I need to see. We're sort of like, here's a link, G. All right, you copy paste that link back. Now here, give me this link back, and then we can.
It's good.
What the fuck was that?
That's how we have to set up our stream every time because we stream at the same time on the same. But like, obviously, we're in different places, so we do like a dual format when we stream, so you can watch us both draw at the same time.
We're getting into the logistical side that's hurting my brain.
Yeah, look, it's
OBS is
again
a lot of dicking around.
OBS
Yeah.
and Streamlabs. I've got them to coexist.
It's wild. I just sit there and listen to like Bailey's instructions. Now copy and paste this. Yep, all right. Is it working? No. Have you done this? Nah. You need to do this. Okay. Is it working now? No. What have you done? I don't know, mate. That's pretty much every time.
This is why we're not live streaming our stuff.
Yeah.
I've been experimenting at home for a while and still haven't quite figured it out.
Fuck that.
Yes. No.
Pre-record all the way.
Yeah.
Lovely. Well, alrighty, my freaky little darlings. Let's jump into some juicy stuff. I shall start with a simple question. Your character classes and why. What influenced you to make your PCs the way that you did? Like, did you have particular ideas that you wanted to expand on? Was there particular fantasies that you were trying to realize with, like, newer characters? What, like, you know, like, what hoops and steps and hurdles did you have to jump through to get to where you wanted to be?
All right, I'll start. I saw a really fucked up video about a
Great way
woman-
to open.
Yeah, like I think it's from 5-minute docos on Facebook, and they just do little 5-minute shorts about like someone who does some craft or some hobby or just something. And this one was about a woman that collects roadkill and displays it in a really pretty way using plants and things.
I think I've seen that.
Yeah, and I saw it and I was like, that is the weirdest thing I've ever heard. But that would make a great NPC, because
Yeah.
I used to run games a lot more.
Oh, yeah.
And I was developing my own world and everything. I was like, that would be a really wacky person for the group to come across. And then when Cody was like, you've got to come play our game, I was like looking through my list of old characters I've made on D&D Beyond, and I was like, I could expand on this one to really make it
Yes.
weird. So that was where I started, and I pulled classes and races and everything based on what would fit that more than anything. So I had the weird characteristic, and everything else just fell to that. And that's where Hugo came from.
I love that it came from a 5-minute doco.
Yeah.
That's
So
fantastic.
he was just, originally, he was an NPC that I had designed just for my character to come across and spark off a whole weird interaction. Now he's a fully built out player
A fully
character
realized character.
who has like, crazy depressing backstories and
Are you okay, bro?
I actually, for those who have caught up, yeah, the really fucked up past, I messaged Cody about it a few weeks ago and I'm like, is this too dark?
And I'm like, no such thing.
I don't want to trigger anyone at the table. Is this too far? He's like, nah, I love that.
I don't care about my feelings. I definitely don't care about yours.
That's fair. We knew this already.
We might throw a trigger warning on that episode.
Yeah. There is the improvisational nature of that. It was it's even hard. Like I have a 3-year-old little girl, so like anything to do with children always hits me in a different way. And I think visually on camera, there's like a solid 2 minutes where I'm just like this the whole time, and I'm like, you have to get it, bro. Like, I was fucking borderline on
Hugging heartstrings.
Yeah, I was borderline on the edge. It was I think it's I think it just goes to show like the amount of effort and thought that like, got put into Hugo as a character, because those first like 4 episodes leading up to that, he's just such a quirky little dude and just does like real outlandish shit because he likes seeing people smile, and then it just got real dark real quick.
I like duality in characters. Like, it's a big thing in my own development of stuff, having it's the tears of a clown side of thing. Like, he's really fucked up on the inside, which is why he puts out this, represses any of that kind of dark emotion. But when something directly relevant comes up, there's only so much he can hold back.
I remember,
That was a surprising moment. I was all like, I'm traumatized, G. And you were like,
I'm
me
also
too.
traumatized.
I was like,
Are we in a relationship now?
the trauma bonding is real.
Look, I was like faking the Hugo getting teary, but it was starting to happen.
Next time, just cry. It's great content. I remember it's in that movie The Watchmen, based on the comic book if no one's watched it. But Rorschach talks about the he's so good. Rorschach talks about the joke he heard about Pagliacci, the great clown. And Pagliacci goes in to see a doctor and he says, "Doctor, I'm depressed. I don't know what to do." The doctor goes, there's an easy cure for that. You go see the great clown Pagliacci because he's in town." The man bursts into tears and says, "But doctor, I am the great Pagliacci."
Yeah.
And it's like that's the concept of like duality that I think like Hugo crosses that very fine line where it's, I know I can do things that are going to make everyone else feel better, but at some point it's like, but I don't want to share that information about myself with other people because I don't want to put that on them. So I need to make myself feel better.
The only reason it came up is because it was a way to relate to someone and hopefully relieve their pain. It wasn't him wanting to talk about it. It was more about trying to help another in dealing with death, which is his whole shtick.
It's just it's such a selfless thing to have a character like that. That's like, here's my instance. I understand what you're going through. And then it's like, "Oh, but are you okay?" It's like, no, don't worry about me. I'm worried about you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's, there's something more sad about it.
And I love that I got multiple natural ones in a row when you
yeah.
It was meant to be.
Yeah.
I was there like,
My halfling luck didn't serve me.
Oh, yeah, bro, you got shafted.
Yeah. Double natural ones.
Dice Christ really wanted you to suffer.
yeah.
It had to come out of the story. It was meant to be.
It was great, and it's left a wonderful little window into like the soul of like 2 characters specifically, where like it's been alluded to a lot, but it's not been outright discussed yet.
Yeah.
So it's very good, and I like Hugo's character. It was very fun to see him come to life.
I think it was a great moment for the story development too, because Hugo particularly didn't get Zero. Like, there was a little interaction earlier with the bird and everything, and he was sort of a bit pissy, like, doesn't believe in the gods, doesn't like any of this, acts so blasé about death. That was like a moment suddenly where he's like, okay.
Clarity.
We have a...
Yeah, no, I was like talking to Cody about it a bit actually. I was
My phone's been blowing up since that game.
Yeah. Well, I was talking about how like, I said, "Oh, have I made like 02 reserve too secretive to the point where like there's no room for her to build any bridges with any of the other characters?" And then that answered my problem for me when that episode happened, because I thought, "Oh, okay, no, it is possible. It's fine. It sucks, but like we've got like something to work with now." And I'm really interested to see like how that eventuates, because now my interest is piqued about Hugo and what's happened to him, and I'm naturally gonna be like, wait until he's asleep, and I'll be like, "Hey, G, you want to tell me about that story, that traumatizing story?"
Yeah, now I've just got to get Mon.
Yeah.
Hugo and Voyage have got like a brotherhood going on. That's sweet. I like you because you protect. You've got the religious. You've got the religious aspect too that we can, like Hugo and Daria can kind of communicate on. Yeah. But yeah, like now Zero and Hugo have got a connection point too.
Trauma bonded.
Each other's dead children.
Yeah. now it's Zeph is the next target for Hugo.
Yes. I'm interested to see how that one eventuates.
Same.
Be careful, little man's gone for everyone's kneecaps.
I'll watch it.
He knows he needs to be protected, so he makes you all love him.
Smart. Smart man.
Hold me. Only if you hold me. Who wants
That's
to
where
go?
Hugo came from.
Who wants to
No,
go
I like
next?
I'll go next because it's not as interesting.
Oh,
It's gonna be a good sandwich of awesome, kind of just doing it to fill a niche or a role, and awesome.
Well, that's why Hugo ended up being a cleric.
Yeah.
So I was like, we need support roles, and usually that's something people don't want to play.
Well, I wait till most of the time I wait till everyone else has picked their class race and stuff like that, and I'll try and fill whatever's not being filled, whether it's a tank, damage dealer, melee damage dealer, because everyone fucking goes spellcasters all the time.
A lot of your groups that we've talked about have a lot of them have been spellcasters. It's kind of peculiar. It was just
fucking annoying. Do you know how many times I tried the necromancer once, and I didn't really like it. We did a necromancer thing.
No, you were the death domain cleric
That's
Oh,
right.
that's
in the
right.
original one.
Yeah, I was not a fan of that.
It's a
It
tough
was
one.
okay.
Like, honestly, like, Hugo next to Daria, specifically seeing the difference in Paladin, I'm like, oh, I can detect undead. You can detect undead, fae, and all that. And I'm just like,
Everything.
it's like a bulked up version.
Cleric on roids.
I guess I'll throw you a line because I know it kind of catches your left field when we talk about like logistical stuff. So I'm trying to help you out.
Here we go.
The one thing that that actually got me about Daria specifically as a character was when I was like, give me like a 1 page of lore and I'll help you expand upon it. And instead, you fully sent me like 3 pages, including a family tree and the entire back history of his family before he was born, which blew my mind.
I love that.
No, but like-
That's
like-
good,
I'm
man.
a
That's what we
lore
like to
builder.
see.
Like,
yeah.
like you ask Cody, like with the map, I'm seeing stuff. So the map laid out this way could lead to a civil war because these people have got this. And there's a river running through here to be a perfect defendable position. Like my brain just goes into back law.
And I'm like, dude, I'm unloading a truck right now. I'll get back to you in 5.
Yeah. As stories need a story, and there's got to be answers for
I-
other questions.
I don't know if we've alluded to it too much on mic, and I'm trying to remember, but the vague idea that like has been dropped out is Daria came from a family of like business people,
Yeah.
like his father specifically, and he was kind of like, I guess for lack of a better term, you were like kind of groomed to be the follow up to that.
Merchant boy.
Yeah, like just a merchant boy, and Daria was like, no, this sucks. We used to be part of like an order of chivalrous knights. Why did we? What happened?
Yeah.
Why is it now for money instead of for honor? And that's kind of like the thing that got built upon. And
We'll say that Daria is right. Can we talk about like what's happening right now in the campaign as well?
up to episode 5, yeah, basically. Like this is coming out after episode 5, so anything up to that point is free game.
Oh yeah, no. He's currently on the fence about a whole fucking bunch of shit because of you assholes. You're kind of all good. You're just fucking dead bodies. You guys, not so much corrupting me. And he's like, yeah, but yeah, that was my little segue.
Zero and
sorry.
Zeph's life.
Yeah,
Z1
like,
and Z2 over there.
you
like-
guys are fucked.
Is it 1 and 2?
I had such a sheltered life, and then I'm experiencing all this other stuff. I'm like, yeah, the world isn't what I thought it was. It's not all fucking honor, chivalry.
Sunshine and rainbows.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
sometimes it shivs and drugs.
People die. My boy died.
A lot. People
Yeah.
die a lot in this
Yeah.
game.
Have I killed anyone yet?
Yeah, several people.
Yeah.
I still go back and remember that bit from episode 1 in the pit fight where it was like, my friend, technique.
Oh,
And I was like, that's such a cold one-liner to
Yeah.
end on before taking some dude's head off.
In Hugo's brain, the reason he really did stick with everyone is like, you guys dealt death, and he feels like it's his role to kind of
I'm gonna make a lot of money with these
balance
guys.
out the death, you know, like
Just come up with the mop afterwards and you
Essentially.
no.
if we had enough money. I have
to know.
Revivify, but it's like 300 gold or 250 gold.
Bro,
It's,
like
I
diamonds.
think- Yeah, it's like 500 gold pieces. A diamond worth 500 gold
Yeah.
pieces.
There's a few of my spells, and I'm like, oh, that's great. And then I have a look, I'm like, Hugo has like 14 gold. Like, he's not a wealthy man. He's basically a homeless traveler.
Oh man, I had that thought myself the other day. I was like, huh. Yeah. Anyway. not going into that. Continue.
Well,
Let me continue.
Well, is there anything else you wanted to add as far as like developing Daria? I know, like getting pulled into like character development's not exactly like a big
It's not my
thing
strong
for you.
point.
Yeah, it's like which is okay. It's why we're here. It's why
Yeah, like-
I mitigate this stuff.
I have a question for him. How the fuck did you get his AC so high?
Oh, bro. I'm also a min-maxer, by the way, guys. So I just fucking just straight up, and for some reason I get stupid rolls on D&D Beyond.
Oh, well, you
It's
did you
dumb.
roll up? Okay,
Yeah,
I just
fine.
used the standard array. That's probably why.
There's your fucking issue. Nah, yeah, I just get really lucky. And the plate armor I'm wearing is magical.
Ah, that was your
So
magic item.
Is it right? Am I still
Yes.
using that? Yeah.
No, you are part of the setup that I allowed. So when we did our very first podcast, which was of Dice and Magic way back in the day, we started at level 3, which is not uncommon for a lot of campaigns. I find it's actually, for me, it's just really boring. Not being able to do these cool big fights and like have like the ability to use cool skills that you don't get until you're level 5. It just made more sense to me. I can throw bigger fights at you. I can throw harder things at you. And you guys can, in a world where I explicitly said when I brought everyone into play, we're playing in a world that you guys have already done a bit of what you've been doing anyway. It just made sense logistically.
It makes you feel like you're stronger than the average monster card as well. Like,
Yeah.
having your unique equipment makes you feel.
And that was one thing that I believe in the group chat. I said you can have 1+1 weapon or one uncommon magic item or one uncommon magic weapon.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that the mithril plate that you picked adamantine plate was uncommon. But once you picked it, I was like, I'm not going to sit there and say, no, you can't have that because that's not my thing. And like same as like your gun, one of your guns is a gun of warning. Revolver of warning. So anytime a creature goes to attack 0, the gun warns her that it's coming. So I can't get advantage on stealth attacks on
Have we
it.
seen your magic item come out yet?
Yeah.
Which one's that?
It's the dog.
Oh.
I love that boy!
What's your magic item?
The bow.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
That's why it's so damn powerful.
Yeah, that's why it hurts.
But mind you, we did set restrictions on that though. We set some restrictions,
How the
which is
fuck did you get restricted and still be powerful?
Because it's obviously that
That's how.
powerful.
Yeah. I offered to give my plate up. I was like, look, I can do it like weaker.
I chose an item that's more story-based, bro, because I'm like, it fits for the moon.
What did you pick?
I have a magical map case that can give us like shortcuts and directions when we're lost.
Oh, that's sick!
That's why he was always sketching maps. So the
Why
idea
is
that
it
he's
taking us
constantly...
so long to get to places?
We've been taking the main road. It's
yeah. You guys actually got
it's
there the
lost.
quickest.
It's more like if we travel off-road and stuff, like, or if we get lost somewhere.
Where we go was
I
just
can roll
far
a
away.
dice
dude.
that determines if we can find a shortcut out.
You're out here trying to give up your magical item. I'm out here like, Cody, don't you dare let me have anything other than this magical item.
It negates critical hits. So anytime he rolls a nat 20 on me, it's just a normal. It's like there's no crit hits on anything.
Yeah.
We kind of need that to happen to you.
Yeah.
So,
Kind of.
kind of need you. To
I don't.
say
Yeah, the
anything.
thing is, I think I've landed 1 hit on Daria this entire campaign.
Yeah,
One.
it's fuck all damage.
That was it.
I didn't even take in
The first episode was
I noticed
Daria
that you've
just
done a few
walking
more,
and
charisma save checks and stuff. So
yeah,
it's 'cause,
like the first episode was Daria just walking around and just having stuff ping off his back. Like it was like nothing was happening. It was insane.
Terminator.
Yeah, you literally the
You
Terminator.
need to hit him with that psychic damage.
Yeah,
Whoa,
that'll be-
fun. Oh yeah, you were there, Bill, at the
At our game night, I just
Me.
held. So Liam plays a barbarian in our game shop game that we play, and I basically just used monsters that only dealt psychic damage.
I had 75 hit points, and I went down to 23, I think it was.
in one round
In
of
one
combat.
round. He hit me like fucking with like 3 different dudes, and I was like, "What the hell is this?"
2
shit?
attacks all at advantage because of flanking.
Oh, because I was reckless. Yeah, I went reckless, and you're like, "Yeah, I
Yep.
get advantage on that shit." And me being me, I listened to my other mates when I was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll go reckless. What's the worst thing?"
Go reckless. What's the worst that can happen?
can't hurt you.
My favorite part was when you when we were setting up and you climbed in the tree, and then on your first round you had to get out of the tree.
I'm gonna hide up
you
here.
had to do.
And I was like, yeah, because I got fucking the first roll on initiative. I was like, I'm gonna wait in the tree, and then Cody was like, look, they're gonna find you. I was like, well, fuck it. What was my movement speed too? It was like 60 feet, so I can just.
Yeah, because you were hastened.
You were hasted.
Yeah. Oh, the leap.
You had
the
3 attacks.
Double leaps, bro. It was like Assassin's Creed out of that shit.
It was awesome. But anyway, before we diverge too far off, no, that's on me. I'm allowing this behaviour. Is there anything else you wanted to add in about Daria before we move on?
No, not really. No, you guys are good.
Excellent. Alrighty.
You're good. Should I have?
No, you're good, man. You're doing well.
Expectant stance.
Zero. Going into the development of making Zero as a character, we spoke about that a lot. You were the first one to message me, I think, when I put out the feelers for a new group. So,
I really wanted to do something different, and I remember when we played that one shot with Marco, and he did the like Wild West one, and I played No Miss Nesta.
Netza. Yeah,
And
that was fun.
I thought like, oh, you know, we're going in the Wild Wild West, going to be a gunslinger, obviously. You know, it's just a cliche option to go with, and it just suits thematically. And then when I was looking at the build, and like when you get on D&D Beyond, there's like red writing everywhere, like this isn't an official class, blah 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 blah. You know, there might be some shit you got to do and rah rah. And I was like, yeah, whatever, we'll figure it out. And when I was doing the build, because she was similar to Zero, where she's got the dual pistols, and when I did that, and because it's a fighter class and you've got the action surge and stuff like that, I thought, this is a good fucking
This is deadly.
class. This is a fucking great class. This works really fucking well. And I was like, when we had done that one shot with the Artificer, where that was like sort of the bare bones of the world that we're in now.
Yeah, that's something I'll get into a little bit later.
Yeah, and I thought like, how good would it be to like be in this like, you know, sort of architectural Gothic era and being some kind of bounty hunter that's like semi-retired, but you know, sort of like what?
Dog the Bounty Hunter.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That was a core memory that I forgot about.
Intrusive thoughts.
You gotta change your ways, brother. Anyway,
Bro, I watched that show religiously.
yeah, me too. Anyway, continue.
Sorry, Sky.
No, I was lost for a second there. I don't know what the fuck y'all talking
I'm
about.
a bounty hunter, and that's what popped in the head.
I'll show you after.
Okay, no worries.
You haven't seen it?
No,
I'll show you
I don't know what the
after.
fuck you're talking
Keep
about.
going. Bro.
But yeah, and then I kind of wanted to like, it was like it's like all sort of just fell in sequentially. Like, you know, I'd have one idea and then I'd have another follow and
It begins to snowball
and
and
it
it
did
rolls.
snowball. And then eventually it just became, I'm going to do every stereotype that I've never done before. Like, I want to break new ground for me here. And so then that's when the family came in. And instead of just, like, being, like, a family member, like a sibling, I wanted to take the mother figure. And, you know, like, I've not had kids myself or anything like that. But I thought, like, I feel like I can get a good idea of what I want to do with this character and the dynamic that if, you know, I put myself in those shoes, what I would do if I was that person. And eventually it just ended up becoming like this multi-layered character, and I was like, holy farves, you're doing too much, doll. Oh, holy shit. And then that's sort of like really how it came about. I just wanted to do everything different to how I normally do it, like the class, the character, just the character archetype, like the whole cold, calculated kind of like live by your own law kind of thing. Like, that's not really the kind of characters I make. I like to make much more empathetic characters, emotionally empathetic characters, and, you know, ones that are willing to help on hand, not ones that are a bit more, I'm on my train tracks, you either get in the carriage or you can fucking walk kind of deal. So it's certainly been, it was a bit janky. I remember session 0 of like playing 0. I was kind of felt like a bit like, and then like you really helped guide me through that first session 0, like trying to find the niche of it. And it's kind of like when I found it, I was all like, oh, this is nice.
This feels good.
This is nice. I like being a bit of a bad bitch.
I think it's a great place to start for a character, though. You look at the classic hero's journey, and you've got to be a bit, you know, perfect example. Woody from Toy Story. He's a dick at the start, and slowly becomes nicer. Like, that's something that It's like watching someone be able to become something, you know, get over their bad facts. It's like, I remember telling Coach that a lot of stuff I built with Hugo was things he's not good at that I intend for him to get better at.
Yes.
So I think you're perfect at as well because we're a bunch of kids in our characters. So having a mama figure
Yeah.
that could eventually become that, you know.
You're all my children now. I didn't intend for it, but then as soon as like Cody started telling me about like the builds everyone else had, I was kind of like, all right.
I'll adopt 5 of these kids.
Because one thing I also really wanted to look into was I wanted to be able to build a character where you look at the actual mechanics of the character, because she's a palette elf, and I watched this really good video about how this one player used to play an elf that was like hundreds of years old and would literally talk to the rest of their team like they were like dogs, like they were pets, because none of them were elves and they would live for like a minuscule amount of time as opposed to her character. And so she was talking about like, how would these characters that have so much longevity in their lives view other characters that'll be but a blip in the ocean for them?
Yeah.
And I was all like, oh, like every time I make an elf character, I never think about that, because you play your one shot, you play your campaign, and then it's done, you know? But then I thought, like, if I really wanted to step into the fact that, because Zero's a lot older than obviously what she looks, and I thought, how would someone who's going to basically outlive everyone else at the table bar you, because you're also an elf.
I'm also an elf.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
The realization, you guys.
Because you can't be hit.
Yeah.
You guys
I was like-
watched the guy disconnect from the Wi-Fi in real time.
Literally like, wait, what? Ah.
Dial-up noises.
I'm old enough, so I mean, yeah. Got that old tech in there.
But yeah, I thought like, you know, if I'm going to make a character and I'm going to, you know, make them an elf, I wanted to really like lean into the fact that this character is probably going to outlive the rest of the table bar, you know, select few players. And that was something that I really wanted to take into consideration when I was building her detached personality style. Like, there's a reason that she's like that. It's because at some point in time, if she gets close to these people and spends a majority of time with them, they're going to be gone. They're not going to be there anymore. And she's going to just have this little deposit of memories of good times where she got closer to people that she's never going to see again. And, you know, and she's afraid of doing that because she's already had to mentally get over that hurdle with her kids, because her kids aren't, like, they're half-breeds, but they're not going to live nowhere near as long as her. And no parent wants to outlive their kids. So, like, it's sort of this really tough love mum style where, like, even with her kids, you know, she's semi-detached from them, you know, and then with this group, she's trying really hard as well not to get attached. And me as a person, that's really hard to play out, because I'm like, everybody's friends, I want to be friends. And then, like, they're like, yeah, I'm a cowboy, I don't care about no one, nothing. I'm a bad bitch. And it's like, it's so fucking hard to play that. I'm a wuss in real life.
It's the fun
So-
of this kind of game that you get to step into the
Yeah,
shoes of something
exactly.
you're not.
It makes me feel bad playing a bad person. Like, I genuinely feel bad when I do bad stuff.
I know.
I'm like, is this fucking with my karma? Like, what's going on?
Because I wasn't even thinking when I shot that fucking bird, because, like, I was in Zero's mind frame. I was like, food, ba-doom!
I edited that the other day. You're like, I'm sorry. I'm like, no.
And then afterwards, like, when Sam's all, like, Hugo's all like, I was like, oh my god, I forgot this
What
man
have
was
I
religious. I forgot this man was religious. I just killed his god.
You worship birds.
Becky can't bring the blue.
Perfect. I love that moment though. It's like, me personally couldn't care less. Like, yeah, that was great, but like Hugo would care, and like that's awesome. There was a good moment of being able to have like an interaction between them there.
No, that it was. I totally forgot about it.
But
Because
as
Zero wouldn't have
probably
been wasn't thinking about that at all. So no, it was interesting. I was
Fucking quick draw McGraw over here.
I was so annoyed that I didn't have command that day, because when you did it, I was like, can I command her to freeze like before she gets the shot off? And I didn't have it prepared. I was like, that would have been great.
Oh man, far out. That would have
Gotta
been
prepare your
great.
spells every day.
I know.
Ooh, far.
But yeah, that was sort of my thought process through it all. Was just going for stuff that I wouldn't normally go for.
Tight.
I have a question for you about your class.
Yes.
Can you action search to reload your gun?
I believe
I can answer that for you if you
Yeah,
like, because
yes,
I know
please.
occasion. So, with the way it works, depending on what firearms you pick from the list, depends on how many bullets you get. Now, the automatic revolvers are technically homebrewed weapons on D&D Beyond,
Okay.
so they don't actually count how many bullets they've got in them. It's the one typo on them they don't have. So, a lot of the times there will be moments that probably get cut for the sake of time in the shows, but I will actually warn Sky about how many bullets she's got left, because I know sometimes she misses count that she technically, between both guns, she's got 12. Once 6 gone, that gun's empty. Once 6 is gone, that gun's empty. And she has to spend you have to spend one action of your attack economy, one attack of your action economy to reload.
Yeah.
However, I believe you've just gotten a feat that now ignores that, so that's basically out the window anyway. I think that
No, because the feat that I wanted to take, but we had already pre-established, was that I was going to use sharpshooter, but because obviously I don't use a crossbow or anything like that, I was literally wasting 2/3 of that just to get rid of that 5-foot disadvantage.
Yeah, true.
But we had already discussed.
we don't. Oh, yeah, you don't have it.
With
Yeah.
the pistols, we don't have, because they're pistols. Like, you know, if I go bang, like,
Dead.
as if I'm gonna fucking miss.
Yeah.
Like,
It's silly.
Same works with a crossbow. Too.
Well, I think the argument with that though is more like saying when you're too close to someone, they've got the ability to
Yeah,
swat it
smack
away
it,
or
swat it
something.
out.
but you can also do that with a blade. So why wouldn't you get a disadvantage with that?
True.
Good luck swatting away a blade.
Yeah.
luck
It's
swatting away a
the
gun.
only ranged. It's the only ranged
Lose my
weapon
hand.
that it's the only ranged weapon where I get rid of the
DM's
5-foot
call anyway.
It's the only ranged weapon in all of D&D that I take away the 5-foot disadvantage, because to me, I have seen enough of the dark side of the internet where I've seen dudes get ghosted at point blank,
Yeah.
and I can assure you, you don't miss.
It's not the same with White Widow though. My larger gun, obviously, that does have.
Because that's got a barrel that's like
If
the
you
size
shot
of-
at 5 foot, you'd get exploded though.
Yeah,
So-
yes, that's exactly right. So there's definitely like it's
There's precedent for it.
subjective to the nature of the weapon.
So,
But
I'm all
yeah,
for stuff being OP anyway. It makes for a fun combat.
but yeah, we there's reloading for like once you're out of bullets, you have to spend one of your actions to do it.
what I was asking is, say you shoot, and you can you use, is it like action surge?
Yep.
What is it?
Yeah.
It's a bonus action, right?
So it just adds to my attack economy.
You get
So
a whole other
use,
attack.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you could use that to reload your.
Yes.
Only
on the
certain
same-
classes have action surge. Though.
Yeah,
Only fighter.
Yeah.
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 So are you gunslinger or fighter?
She
Gunslinger is a subclass of fighter.
That's what I,
That's
oh,
okay. That's where I.
That's fucking.
Yeah.
I thought
It is
you,
tight.
I thought you multi-classed and went fighter, gunslinger, but no.
No, it's Gunslinger is the fighter. Yeah.
Gunslinger warlock now.
Gunlock.
Huh.
Gunlock.
Yeah.
Glock.
Warsinger.
Terrifying.
Well, Warlock.
Say hello to my patrons.
What's the spell that imbues your weapon with holy damage?
Ask the cleric.
I am.
I don't believe I have it.
Or there's one for
There's the ones where
necromancy too.
you can turn like a blade into like adding
Could
more
you-
damage. I can't recall what.
Could you like do that to your gun and just like shoot laser beams?
I'd allow it.
have that.
Like, could you multi-class into a fucking paladin and then just like
Divine Smite on your guns.
yeah, like literally just like
I'll be doing more than advanced.
It's just Zero in the corner
Eldritch
cutting
Blast.
small crosses into a bullet.
that is so fucking sick.
Yeah, but maybe. I'll do a vampire hunt at one shot.
Also, there's glasses can make some pretty badass things.
I cuff gun.
Especially at home.
Yeah, Daria has just found a sudden infatuation with her guns.
We're losing it.
20
Yeah.
AC and
We're losing it.
How many tickles to make an octopus laugh?
And I pull the trigger. Anyway. Oh, yeah, gorilla. Gorilla on the wood.
Watch out, he's using guerrilla tactics.
Okay, we're gonna move
We're
to
gonna get
Bleach now.
copyrighted.
Help me.
I don't even know how copyright works, G.
Legends of Adventurers, we love
Fair
Mikey.
use. Oh, they're a good point. Yeah, we can.
We
use
love
every-
Mikey from Legends of Adventures.
We're doing
He's very
covers.
funny.
Yeah.
Bailey, how... I'm going to start this one because I remember when you were like, I want to play a character that's got like some cool like subclass abilities. And I was like, why don't you play Drake Warden Ranger? And your response was, and I quote, I'll just play a fighter with a bow.
Fuck
Your
Look.
response.
Look.
And I doth quote.
Okay, look. A little bit of context on that one. My original D&D group used to absolutely hate on rangers, even though we had one in our party.
I don't get that hate. That it's like a meme of that.
Yeah, I've seen a bit of
They're
it.
great.
Questionable people. Let's not delve too deeply into that. They used to absolutely hate on it, and the running joke was, why would you play a ranger when you could just play
A fighter with a bow.
or a gun?
Oh, no. Fair.
And I, for the longest time, firmly believed that statement to be true, purely because I don't read books. I just don't read. I don't read things, and I take a lot of what people say at face value. Originally, I was just going to play another bard, because I love bards. I was just going to play
Bard
a
boys
bard.
for life.
Bards. But I did want to spice it up a bit, and I did thoroughly enjoy what the Ranger had done in that first campaign I ever played. I thought they did a really good job. Until they bitched out.
Oof, there's a lot of emotion in this table.
Drama!
But look, down to what it initially was, eventually, yes, I got convinced to play the Drake Warden. Because, yes, it was cool and I got to play with Dog.
Yeah.
I got Dog. I love animal companions as an idea for D&D and having sidekicks. Because I find it infinitely easier to explore a roleplay setting when you have that option to, well, this is what the serious character would do, and here's what the fun little comedic justice creature does. And that's what Dog is. Thank you so much for all playing Dog so beautiful.
I have fun with that. He's a fun
I'm
little
glad you brought Dog into this world.
Dog's great.
Like,
We're gonna need art of Dog at some point.
yes,
I've tried to draw a bulldog that looked like a drake and it's impossible.
it's very difficult.
It's very hard to
Tried
draw
writing
that
a few
snubby
AI
face.
things and they couldn't figure it out either.
Like the scales and stuff, you won't be able to get that sort of face.
It's so hard. We'll figure it out.
Unless you just do like a dragon body and a dog head.
We will find a way.
I've got some good reference art now for something very similar. And again, as I said before, now that I've moved house, art soon.
I don't know if any of you guys have watched the
Please.
Dragon Prince.
Yep.
But
Yep.
the little toad thing, the glowing toad thing, that's what I kind of picture whenever I picture a dog.
Another point of inspiration for it is Arc Aberration. There's a shoulder pet. It just looks like a little bulldog frog thing.
Brilliant.
Same thing. But with Voyage and creating him as a character, all in all, I usually like to play my edgelords. I like my edgelords with their big dramatic backstories, with all of their nitty-gritty bullshit.
And the
like,
hair.
oh no, the parents died. Oh no, I listen to My Chemical Romance.
I will not have that disrespect. You fucking take that back. You take.
my father,
A young boy
took me into the city.
Listen to it too!
Yeah, I do. Exactly.
We're all real life edgelords.
I will
Like
not
all-
have that
also very
disrespect in
fucking
this
old.
house.
Put some respect on his name!
My Chemical Romance.
But it's true. Like, I really leaned into that little edgelord with all the drama and the, I left my family because they died. I grew up in an orphanage. Voyage is just happy because he gets to exist. He is a happy boy with a happy life, ready to be destroyed.
Excellent.
Some would say that is even more edgelord of you.
Oh yeah, I just want to see him get absolutely torn to pieces and ruined by this
Like
campaign.
the prequel
Double
of the
edgelord.
edgelord. Like,
Yeah, this is his
Prequel.
becoming.
The anti-hero story.
Isn't that called masochism? Where you're like,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
I think so.
It's the opposite. You've got like the dark character that's gonna learn to love again, and you're like, everything's great. You're, oh, good God, the world.
I want the character art of
Just growing up,
Voyage
bro.
in the next 2 years to be like he's like fully missing an eye and there's like huge scars down his face. One of his horns has been broken, like a whole bunch of shit like that.
Yeah.
To see the huge transition of like the difference.
to be good.
Now it's just okay.
Now it's just life. I love the idea of characters that like have been raised on like, storybooks of adventure,
Yeah.
and then they go out. It's like, oh,
Life sucks.
books didn't mention this bit.
Yeah.
Daria.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
like, what the fuck's going on, man?
I know, it's crazy. But it's so different. It's funny, though, because you guys have very similar histories, but two different methods of going about learning about it. Like, Dardia went from, I don't want to be like the prim and proper rich boy, so he just shaved his head and joined the army, basically. And Voyage has gone, I'll just take a gap year.
Literally.
I'm gonna put on the biggest heels I can find and go adventuring.
Dad, I'm borrowing your boots.
Yeah, thanks, Dad.
Balenciaga. What lipstick in my white Valentino bag?
I need a meme count
I
though.
was
Like,
gonna say, so many various audiences so far with just the fucking random shit we've been saying.
Let's put a meme tally in the corner.
Yeah.
That'll be a thing.
Anytime
I feel
someone
like
says
I will
funny
have
or
missed
stupid-
most of them. Like you're just so
Just
random.
message me and ask.
Yeah.
But is there anything else you'd like to continue on and add to that?
Not particularly.
Good. Okay.
It's pretty clean cut.
No,
so
that's
far.
all good. Now, unfortunately, we are short. We are short a moniker, so at some point we'll have to ask that question again when we get the opportunity. I've got a couple. I've got like a preset couple of questions here that I want to ask before I put it to the rest of the party to ask their questions. Now this one goes into episode 1, the first encounter in the fight pit. Which was the first big map bring out. I always do for like first sessions and episodes with like big combat sequences because I feel like it really gives everyone a chance to understand
Their character.
their character, like their own character, the characters they're going to be playing with. What was going through everyone's mind on that? Like leading into like this huge kerfuffle, and that sort of environment is a thing where bad shit like that can happen. You know what I mean? Like if anyone's ever been to like real mangy bars where bad shit has gone down, which I have been.
Where we were at last night.
Yeah.
When I was seeing the videos, I was like flashing. I'm like, this is our first session.
Yeah, literally. I thought that.
'Cause
Yeah, I
me and my
thought
mates
that
were
too.
looking at the thing and we're like, hang on, you go to the website of that brewery and they're like, we're not actually open yet.
Yeah.
And it's like, where are they going?
What? Oh shit.
That's
I mean, they
insane
were
to me.
technically. Oh, they were serving, so they were doing alright.
They didn't do too bad. But yeah, what raced through your brains when that first sequence began and combat kind of hit the fence? And this was really when everyone got an opportunity to see your player characters in action. You know, obviously everyone's in the D&D Beyond campaign, so you can see what the characters are, but you never know how they're going to play because someone who has the exact same build of a paladin that Liam has might play it completely differently. So what was going through everyone's heads when that kicked off?
Was this like sort of just post the fight pit, like when everyone started getting the brawl in, or?
So like when the actual combat started and everyone got in, and we started seeing like Dardia hopping and Mon hiding and you popping off rounds, like what was that feeling like?
I wanted to get involved, but I was like, how would Hugo want to get involved?
Yeah, that's
Robbery.
Like, well, yeah, but like there's the thing of straight away we know like we want these players to come together somehow, but why? Would like most people wouldn't just be like, I'm jumping in on the fight. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
That's kind of why I straight away went for he wants to make a bet. So he's slightly invested in this. I'm like, hang on, you're fucking with my
Yeah.
girl. Like, that's who I made the bet on. So that was
Yeah.
his, like, straight away I was like, all right, he needs to care about the person in there somehow. So that
No, I
was my
dig
way
that.
to kind of give him
Yeah.
a
It's really
reason to want to get involved.
On that same token, that's kind of why Voyage jumped in, because the little one he walked into town with is now getting
I
involved.
knew I could drag voyaging because we made a little bit like friendship on the way into town. So I was like, all right, Daria's got his honor society soldier of like,
Doing
whoa,
his
shit's
thing.
going on, and
It's a fight.
you know, Zeph had their attachment to you, but I'm like, why would we
Yeah, no.
get involved?
Just sit
So
down.
that was
For-
the
to
whole
get your
reason
money's worth.
That Hugo made a bet was to give me a reason to be invested.
Yeah.
No, I dig that. No, that's good play there.
Because otherwise, we probably would have just sat back
Yeah.
and had no reason to be involved.
Camera photography, just watching everything happen.
Yeah.
For me personally, I was like, I'm in the worst possible position right now to be popping off shots. I've got the low ground because I'm down the pit. And I was all like, this was great until it wasn't. Bang, 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 bang. I hit no one. I'm going to disappear now.
And then you got cracked in the ribs for 22 points of damage from that Sledgehammer Barbarian.
Wow.
Fucking
He smoked
hell.
your shit.
Yeah, that was so.
When Cody hits, when he finally rolls down,
Yeah, when he fucking hits
he
you,
fucking
he
hits.
Bunch of
I
head number
don't
rolls.
know where. I think I've still got them in here. I can break these out. Sure, why not? Without trying to tip all these fucking menus over. Damn it.
I also liked in that first thing because of the gambling and basically the not being able to buy anything but booze. It's given me another aspect to Hugel of he just wants to try different things. Like he'll give it a go. Like he's sort of experiencing the world.
These are stat blocks that I printed off from Loot Studios because they sometimes have a bit of extra goodies on there that the original ones don't have for D&D 5e. And like the skulking rogues and like the bandit captain, the guy with one eye, like his is like depth perception. If he throws a dagger, he does it with disadvantage because he's got one eye. Like it just kind of stuff like that. These two guys here are from the Viking clans thing from Loot Studios as well. And the Sledgehammer dude, like they're only a challenge rating of 2. Like a lot of these are challenge rating 2 to 5, which for a party of 5 level 5 characters shouldn't be too big of a deal. The problem is though, he just hits like a freight train. Like he's got what is it here? Because he's a brute, he automatically deals 1 extra damage die. So instead of being 1d12, it's 2d12. And on that roll, +3, I just maxed out to 22. Like, it was such an insane number, like, to roll off the bat. And then I was like, you're like, she's not looking good. And I was like, already? You're like, already? It's fucking... And I realized it's like, you only got, like, 45 hit points or something. Like, I was like, oh. I see.
I pretty much would have put Hugel out.
Yeah, it was...
Yeah, Zero wasn't too far from having a fucking dirt nap with that encounter.
Well, we had a couple of healers around.
It was,
Thankfully.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I healed you.
You tried to.
Did this chair get higher?
If I recall.
yeah, the Hydrox monkey.
I recall you tried to heal Zero, and Zero's like, don't touch me.
Yeah, he's a fucking cop.
Get your filthy hands off me. But, nah, that was fun.
He would have been like, lay on hands. Also, you're under arrest. Woo!
2 little lights fall out of his forehead.
When a giant dude in a pub tries to lay on hands, usually the approach is get the
Yeah.
Don't be laying your hands on me.
He's not really a cop. He's a soldier.
Well, in this world, it's the
basically
same
a
thing.
Yeah.
The military and the town's guard are unified. Now, some town's guard in the cities will be a little bit different, but it's basically the same thing. Soldiers are just posted all over the country to just make sure everyone's keeping their business clean.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
out in
especially-
those outer towns,
Yeah.
essentially the military
Well,
would be
there you go.
generally
Today I learned I'm a pig.
law enforcement.
So
I'm not the pigs.
no, it's.
Well, you're a part of a faction that is essentially there to strong arm and keep order. Zero's a part of a faction that tells you to shove that order up your ass and also pay me for it while you're there. So she wasn't too keen on getting a lay on hands.
Her order has thrown Hugel into a very confused. He didn't know that sort of shit existed.
Yeah, no, like the fuck is this shit?
Big
Corruption?
Asian crime.
Any corruption I know of is
Come
magic.
join us. I feel like that American Post where it's all like,
Oh,
come
Sam
commit
wants
crime.
you. Yeah. Yeah, did anyone else have anything else on the fight pit as far as that? And we can go on to the next one. No, we're good. Okay.
I'm Gucci, man.
This one I'm looking forward to. So the shambling mound fight, which unfortunately, Liam, you were really ill, so I had to shadow play Daria for that. Because a lot of the encounters I write are for level 5 players, now level 6 players. I'm unfortunately not going to change the encounter at the last minute if someone gets ill and sick.
Fair enough.
So I'm just going to shadow play the character, and I try to play them at the bare minimum. I only do like 1 attack or 1 spell, you know what I mean? Sort of
Right, go for gold.
yeah, sort of stuff like that. And it worked out pretty well because it ended up being a good fight to witness. But the shambling mound fight was real more old school D&D, like a classic D&D monster, right? But in episode 3, we had our first taste of some of the monsters from Ghostfire Gaming's Grim Hollow, the Monster Grimoire, with the Anguishes, like those Shadow Spectres. So, like, do tell, how did those 2 battles feel for you guys? Did they feel like they really walked 2 different paths in contrast? You know, one being more horror and one being more classic high fantasy, like swamp monster and then shrieking spectre that can just consistently shriek one note and hurls like globules of dark necro energy. How did that feel? Did they feel different? Were they not different? Or was there something that you liked from both, or one that you preferred? Tell me. Because remember, you guys were on the receiving end of that, so tell me about that experience.
So one fight was definitely more interactive for me.
Inspiration.
Yeah, good chat, guys.
It was definitely, the second one, significantly more horror. Having just finished editing that episode a couple of days ago, so I've basically just rewatched all that. Our reactions, your descriptions, there's a lot more kind of from the rest of us, and Sky's face when you first do the screech is fantastic.
I was so proud that I was able to get my voice that high to do that noise.
It was very
There's a
impressive.
full retraction from you.
It was disgusting.
But yeah, significantly creepier, which I think sets this world's sort of the aspects of this world. It kind of, I think, really fit to that because, the combat in a pub, the classic D&D monster, wild, giant, creepy, moving forest does give that haunted, in corruption kind of feel. Your descriptive side of that, the Anguisher fight, was much more like, oh, what are we fighting? At one point, I think Voyage rolls a check to see something. You're like, I wish I hadn't seen that.
Can I close my eyes?
Can I opt to not do that?
No, I agree. I think the one with the sort of spectral being, both as a player and Zero as a character, it was starting to feel a bit out of our depth. Because I think she tried to shoot it a couple of times and it wasn't really doing anything. And I was all like, that's all I can do. I just shoot shit.
Both guns.
I'm fucked.
I need someone to gif that motion where you're in the pit with both guns, trying to figure out what to do.
But yeah, no, so there was the stress from that as well added on top. This looks like a whole new ball game of enemy. Is there actually anything I have in my repertoire that's actually going to help bring this thing down? And so, on top of the fact that it's already just a fucking creepy enemy, I was there I don't have fucking supernatural bullets. I'm not Dean or Sam. Fuck me, damn.
Brothers now. Winchester Brothers, help me! The car comes from the sky.
I can hear the car a mile away.
Jesus.
So yeah, I was stressing. I was pooping my pants, and I was also stressing. So
There's that mystery of it.
Yes.
What is it? Because both Dari and Hugel cast their divine sense to try and figure out what it was. It's not undead. It's not that. It's not. We're just what is this thing? Continually, you will come back to what? Do we know what we're fighting yet?
Well, that's what was funny to me. So the one thing that I really like about Ghostfire Gaming's Grim Hollow is because it's all part of their Atharis campaign setting. So you get the campaign guide, the player guide, and the monster guide. Now you get all three. You've got the Holy Trinity, right? The thing that I like is every monster gives you a threshold of DC checks that you can gain information from. And the only person who rolled high enough was Atharis. So what I had to do was I had to think of a way that I could link it back to what would make sense for Zepharis to know what this is. And Zepharis, because they're a changeling, they can change their faces. So it would make sense for me, because we haven't really delved a lot into Zepharis' backstory, and there's a reason for that, and it will come as it comes. But I said they were researching other creatures that were shapeshifters or form changers or something that could malform into something else. And that's where Zeph read about, and they were called anguishes. That's the thing they develop in places where pain has happened and bad things have happened and left those feelings of distress and grief. And then it just spiraled from that, where it's I knew that I had wanted the concept of, because anguishes kind of just look like dementors in the artwork with orange glowing orbs in their head, like smoke orbs. And I was like, no, I want to make it cooler, and I really wanted to use those miniatures of the ghost woman. So I was like, how can I do it? And the idea that I had was they constantly shift and change forms into the essence of people that have died in that spot. That's why their face keeps splitting, but obviously the more they split their attention, the more it gets real fucked up and malformed. I knew that I wanted something like that. That's where I was bringing in the body horror into a poltergeist kind of enemy. And I was quite happy with like the reaction and the responses for it, because I was like, okay, the way I thought in my head it was going to land has landed the exact way I thought it was going to, which is disturbing in the we don't know what it is. But
I just love that you ate its remains. Or attempted to.
Did I? Or did I?
Yes.
yeah, you passed the
No,
con
you
save.
did. There'll be a short pulled from this because you pick up some remains in a cooked pot and you're like, I'm not eating that. And 5 minutes later, you're like, can I eat that? You very quickly shifted.
If you had failed, I was gonna roll like fucking 68, like poison damage or something, like something stupid.
I mean, I would have deserved it. To be honest with you. So I would have copped it on the chin.
There's a lot
It
of
would have been
dicking
a good way to
around.
make a new character. Could you imagine that? Just kill him like that?
Five
It's the body you
3
put-
episodes in.
You
The,
just
the tank just gets dropped.
And like the play just leaves a huge on the ground.
Everyone's like, what the fuck just happened?
God.
You fully just did the pose. She's
Darren,
doing the
yeah.
pose.
I'm waiting for the snort.
It's not coming, my nose is blocked.
That would have been so great. Oh, that would have been the best comedic exit of any campaign ever.
On that note, has everyone else rolled up backup characters?
Oh, I'm considering
No.
it.
I have 2 ready to go.
I have so
Hugo
many
is a
ready to
weak
go.
man.
I was gonna make a bard. Stealing your thunder.
Good thing you're the tank.
Unless I miraculously just happen to lose all my armor and die.
Runs off and joins the army again. Or that. I
Can
mean,
you
that's
not?
still an option.
Haven't made much.
That's something we can get into a little
Cody's
bit
like,
later.
please don't.
No, that's something we can get into a little bit later, because I have very strong feelings about sunsetting characters when players realize that like things aren't clicking the way they want to.
Yeah.
But that's something we'll get into a little bit later.
Okay.
But did anyone have anything else they'd like to contribute as far as that fight, like those 2 battles?
Negatory Star Commander.
Mind you, I'll quickly tail on to the end of that before we move on. I really love the fact that it just I don't like D&D games that have combat every episode. I've seen D&D actual plays where there is one sort of combat or one sort of puzzle or interaction every episode, and it does bug me sometimes. I do love the fact that naturally it just made sense to have those 3 first episodes have some sort of encounter in them, because that's just the landscape you guys are in.
You gotta get
And then
interested.
those next 2 episodes, 4 and 5, where it's been nothing but roleplay,
Story.
spectacular. I love it so much. It feels so fulfilling to me. And now we're at the point where it's like I have to prep for combat, but there's no like guarantee that those combats will happen. So very exciting.
Yeah, well, didn't you say you'd had some combat experiences like lined up, but we just didn't play into it? Like we went other ways. I swear there was one.
We could have avoided the anguishes.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, the anguishes. The anguishes. If you decided that you didn't want to go and investigate, you would have just avoided it.
Zero's like, serious?
Yeah.
Well, it's actually funny you should say that, like, doing combat in the first couple of episodes to get people hooked. I watch for the role play. If
Yeah,
I'm watching
same.
any other of those, I watch for the role play. It's not that I skip over the combat, but as a facet when I'm watching, these kinds of shows, I find myself more heavily invested in watching with a lot more attention when I'm watching people have a really good role play moment,
Yeah.
as opposed to the combat. Because cool shit happens in combat. Don't get me wrong. There's some like narratively beautiful combats that happen where some cool fucking shit goes down. But the RP is simply watching a conversation between either like a DM and their player or 2 PCs just naturally falling out and it being like an absolute cinematic fucking masterpiece. I'm there like, oh.
You forget you're in a game.
I'm
Yeah.
100% the same.
Yeah.
Like, if I think back over, like, Critical Role's a big one that really got me into all this. Like, I watched Campaign 2 through twice. Like, just loved it. All the moments that stick out to me are when some PCs are having their moments. Like combat,
Relatable
I
experience.
can't really recall any specific cool combats. Like, I know they happened, but that's not the thing that draws me in.
Yeah,
Like,
sticks in your brain. Yeah.
and I think that's why those guys particularly really do me, because story is such a key point.
Immaculate,
And
yeah.
I've studied narrative storytelling at uni and that kind of stuff, and that's a huge thing that I just love. Like, I'm into film and everything, so storytelling is the thing that grabs me. It's what in these games gets my attention as well.
Yeah.
And it's what I'm trying really hard to balance out. I want to be able... I need... my one goal, which I know a lot, like I've spoken to a lot of you about singularly and in the group chat, is I want to have a world that exists, and the repercussions for your actions are a very real thing, but it shouldn't be like I'm abusing you as players. Like you should be able to just... Basically, the idea is I basically just got all the stuff to mitigate everything else here, and you guys have to make all the calls. And you determine what happens, and then I'll just fill you in as we go. Like a narrator, basically. Which is, that's my favourite part. Watching all the interactions between everybody is fantastic. Like that sequence when you guys went and visited Gosrick's apartment, and eventually it got slipped out that you were technically like the high fantasy equivalent of a cop of a fan, and it went real south. And when I'm playing like important NPCs, I forget that I'm technically running the game, and it becomes a thing. And I was like, yeah, that would make sense. Like, Zero wouldn't bring this guy here if it wasn't for a good reason, but that concern is still very much a reality.
Yeah.
What would happen? And you go, Gosrick's not a fucking little guy, but he likes you because you fixed him up. So his shoulder was fucking bunted. So
magic hands.
Bro, I can't wait for you guys to find out how it got that fucked up.
we'll see.
He fought a paladin.
Worse. The police. No.
He fought a paladin soldier.
But
Worse.
I guess we'll worse.
But we've seen I don't have we seen those things you warned us about?
Not yet.
Not yet.
No. What were they called?
Iron Lawbearers.
Yeah.
Yep. So we're going to move on to the next section, which is fun, which I've aptly for this moment called Queries from the Clergy. So yeah, I thought it was funny. Queries from the Clergy is the section where we try to answer questions from people from online on our socials. Now,
Did we get some?
we actually got some.
Oh my god! I thought I was gonna send some in just in case we didn't get any.
Don't fucking out yourself like that.
Turns out they're both from
it's
him
embarrassing
anyway,
for
and he's
all
already
of us.
forgotten.
I have
Throw
dummy
away.
accounts with
Throwaway IG account.
So our very honorary first question comes from Joshua, and I guess this one would kind of be aimed at me if I'm looking at it correctly. He goes, "What was the process of creating the world? Were aspects of the world inspired by any books, films, or games, and were other elements inspired by the players?"
Fuck, that's a good question.
It is a very good question.
Damn.
So for me, so the process of creating the world, which is funny because Sky mentioned earlier at the top of the episode about a one shot that we ran, which was like the bare bones of the world, which is where you played your alchemist.
Yeah.
That was a one shot that I had written, which I actually intended to run for like a group of people, and it was like real bare bones. But we would basically just hang out all night, and I decided to run it 1-on-1. And the entire game was narrative only. There was no combat. There was heaps of rolls, but there was no combat. And after we did that session, I went away and I was like, no, this is cool. I like this. And it was actually meant to be, that ended up being inspired by another mini arc that I wanted to run, which is where we were going to use stuff from Curse City, from Warhammer Quests, because Jack had got a bunch of the Warhammer Quest minis and I really liked them. We wanted to utilize it, and I was going to build a full 6-episode mini arc on our original podcast. And it just never came to fruition, right? Because like that iteration was just too hard to level out, and it was a whole thing. But I kept a lot of that information, and I was like, what if I just kind of now Kith? And
Can I just interject? When we did play that one shot, I have to say, with what you were describing, I had such a vivid picture in my mind of where I was and what I was doing. It was very vivid.
thanks. It was 90% of that game was improv off the top of my head. So I picked the monster that I wanted to have the kind of theme around, and then I just went off from there, which is very cool.
It was great.
But that's where it started. And then obviously when we ended our first podcast, and I was like, I'm going to take like 2 months off to just focus on world building and maybe see if we're going to go again. I really got hit with like the freight train of revelation that it's like, I want to... That's one of our players from our game shop game called whenever his paladin has a moment, it's the freight train of revelation, and the image is this muscular paladin like shoulder pressing a giant train car. It's the whole thing. Context. But I knew when I started putting those things together, I was like, I think I know where I want this to go. And so I started building, and the first thing I built was the Sister Cities. It was the first thing I did. And I was like, okay, well, that's there. What's going to go between here? I knew that was going to be the thing. And while I was working, I was like at work. I like have one AirPod and I listen to podcasts and music like while I'm sorting through all the magazines and stuff that we sort for work. And I started listening to The Pale Blood Hunt by Redgrave, which was an essay on the subsidiary plot of Bloodborne, which is not about just killing beasts, it's about the whole the Eldritch truth story underneath, where people are trying to elevate themselves to like the status of a cosmic great one. They want to become gods, basically. And there's the whole sub story of Bloodborne is so intense and there's so much knowledge there. And then I was like, that original city that I built for that one shot was basically just Yharnam from Bloodborne, this gigantic city of stone and steel that's so vast and it takes hours to walk from one side to the other, and that it's just monstrous. And I was like, the more I listened to The Pale Blood Hunt, I was like, I like this concept of like the world kind of just sucks and that's what it is. And then obviously I had all the Grim Hollow stuff. I was like, no, I can make this work. So a lot of that inspiration definitely came from Bloodborne, and it just came from a mishmash of one-shots that I had left over from our earliest days, like a year and a half ago. But when it comes to what was inspired by the players, I left a lot of those final design choices free until everyone came to me with their classes, because I knew that some people were going to pick classes that were just intrinsically linked to the world that I built. Like when you came to me with Hugel, because you and Sky were the first two people to have your characters done, you came to me first. When you mentioned you want to be a bounty hunter, that's where the whole thing with like the Sunken Sect came in, and like a criminal underbelly, and I was like, that's easy. I live for like crime and like mob documentaries and stuff.
Oh, put that on a shirt. I live for crime.
I live for crime. Criminal. I live for like the documentaries about like the Irish mob and like the Italian families and all that sort of stuff, the Greek mafia, all that sort of stuff. I love that stuff, and I've watched so many documentaries on it, and I just know so much about it. And I was like, I would love to just take that element that I invested so much of my knowledge into and put that into my game. And I feel like I've aptly built that enough, like, because I know you've got all your documents, but no one else does for obvious reasons. And then when you came to me, it's like, oh, Hugel came from this family that's like, they're kind of like the typical like
Druid hippies,
but he wasn't. I was like, I've got that, and that's where, you know, like Potts Hollow and stuff came from. Potts Hollow was from another one shot that I ran for my friends in America. I wrote them a whole thing, and it was like a 9-hour one shot that we ran over Discord.
Holy shit.
So yeah, and I had my web camera on my laptop, so I like turned the camera. No, it was on my phone. And I turned my phone on a stand and had the full map out, and they tell me where they wanted to move, and I did it full. It was amazing. I mean, Brandon, I love you and I miss you.
Give the camera a kiss.
But a whole bunch of stuff that I used, I started bringing it together. But like, and then when Liam goes, I think I want to be a paladin, I was like, well, he's got to be part of the army. Then that just makes sense. And then we wrote up his whole backstory about joining the army and like being cops and stuff. Zeph's whole thing is that will come in time, because there's a lot of that needs to be unpacked that's not been spoken about yet. So that'll come in its own time.
We can keep secrets.
No, not on recording.
I can't.
But Voyage was probably the one that I had the most fun with, because the idea that you came to me was I think you said along the lines of, I want Voyage to not be from where we are. So we had to go through a very long process of like, well, thematically, where would it just make sense that he come from? And the fact that Voyage is a ranger and he travels a lot, it just made sense that he come from Vassal, which is basically like medieval England. That's kind of like the land. It's more atypical high fantasy over there. Like obviously there's lots of monsters and magic and stuff, but lots of castles and villages. There's no big cities over there. Arcano technology hasn't really got there. So I had to develop that enough that I could send something to you so that you can recite it when you need to talk about it. So you've got a couple of cities and but you like, and your family info and all that sort of stuff. So that was like, that's where it came from for me being able to build. I built what I knew I could do alone, and then I waited for you guys to build your characters, and then I developed the rest of the world after that. And I'm still doing it now. Like, some of you will send ideas to me, and I'll go in and re-edit your lore documents and add the extra bits in there so that you've got it. And sometimes you go on, like, Sky was laughing how she went on to look, and she could see me putting the words in as I was I was like...
reread the lore documents now. There might
It's
be
like
some
my
changes.
eyeballs chasing your fingers, like.
You're like, Pac-Man?
Yeah, literally.
Like my finger just breaks at the laptop. Oh!
She's consuming the lore faster than what I can type it.
Oh my god, she's become aware. But yes, thank you, Josh. Great question. I enjoyed it. Thank you very much. The next one actually comes from a fellow DM that actually follows us on our Instagram as well, Zalgarieth. How many models are you going to make Seb make, and how much caffeine are you providing him?
He's been commenting on a lot of my videos. Thank you for watching my other stuff, by the way. Well, I don't consume caffeine. I'm one of those monsters.
Just raw dog of life,
The
bro.
only time I
Raw
have
dog.
caffeine is pre-workout, and then I'm at the gym like, what the
I can see every color, every equation.
Oh, it goes.
It's
I'm
fucking insane.
ecstatic after a pre-workout. But no, as much as Cody can come up with, I will make. In fact, I keep bugging him, telling me, I'm like, I won't metagame it, but tell me some cool things you want in this world so I can build them in advance. So, because I want those moments if we come across some absolutely insane thing for him to be able to throw it on
Just
the
chuck
table.
it on
Like,
the table. Yeah.
I love that aspect. Like when I run games of my own, I run them over 2 sections of the house. The entire kitchen table is the main city, and I've got the whole town built. And then in the living room, we have what's happening at the time. So we go back and forth so people can move around an entire town.
That's sick.
Games?
I'm obsessed with miniature building.
I'll
And
drive
I
that
have
out. I
like,
don't give a fuck.
I think what did we got it down to 9 boxes of terrain.
9 boxes.
Cody came down the other week and we sorted through all my old crap that
Holy
I've built.
shit. It's insane.
As much as we can come up with, I'm going to build.
We love that attitude.
Yeah.
Bro, that's so
You
sick.
keep up the good fight.
So
You can stay here forever.
I want us to be able to really get caught in it. And like for me, it's because when I play games, a lot of my friends have never watched any of it. They know, you know, they know of it through a reference in a TV show or something. So when they come in and they're not great
It's a
at
TV show.
picturing stuff, like Stranger Things.
That's
is the big
exactly
one.
what everyone fucking says.
Yeah.
Oh, like Stranger Things.
And that's what's got me a lot more people to play at my table. So I'm all for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But when they can come in and they can see a fantasy city in front of them with all these different looking little miniatures and stuff, they go, oh, okay, I see what we're working with here. Whereas a lot of them
Yeah.
don't have that ability to really picture it in their minds.
What's it called?
so
Theatre
well.
of the mind?
Theatre of the mind is where it's without miniatures in some
Yeah.
cases.
Yeah.
Which
And-
works for some things.
Yeah, I think I love Theatre of the Mind myself, but I know trying to get new players into a
Yeah.
game, the more terrain and the more amazing and fantastical something can be on the table, it captures attention.
Oh, absolutely.
So I will keep making stuff as long as Cody comes up with wacky places for us to do. And on that, and combined with the last question, sort of, we've already been talking as well about doing some more videos for the channel that are building maybe miniatures or artworks to delve into the lore of the world. So,
Ooh,
like,
yeah.
you know, I'm working on a big 3D map of Unera Shroud that we'll be able to use to really
Fuck, that's sick.
have a separate video so you guys can sort of learn a bit more about the lore of the world, but also steal it for your own games. Use our obsessive time sink.
Get in on the
build up
lore.
your own world.
Build
And,
upon our universe.
yeah, or just take elements of it and
Yeah.
use it yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think I think there's been chatter of once we get deep enough into this campaign about actually writing up a proper campaign setting and actually like putting it up for release. If people like it, they can use it.
That'd be sick.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of cool. Might do some custom backgrounds, like all that sort of stuff for PC characters.
That'd be sick.
Maybe even some custom classes, maybe, or subclasses. That'd be kind of cool. I'd love to do something like that. That'd be very cool. But yeah, good question, Zal. Thank you. This next one here is one where I'm gonna throw it to you guys specifically. Does anyone here have questions specifically to other players or to me that they really want to ask? Burning questions, anything like that? I don't have a clever name for this one yet, but I'll work on it. I'm looking at Bailey because I know Bailey's
Both
got
of you
all
made a
this.
sound of I'm about to say something.
you go.
Look, I wrote up one for everyone at the table. I thought I'd write up one for everyone at the table
He is prepared.
just to see, like, if we could cover any bases. That
Bailey
really
understood
kind
the
of-
assignment.
Yeah, because I also gave the assignment.
I told you, I done told you.
But actually, so far with what's been discussed, a few of them have already been answered for me. However, there are a few that haven't. one of those is being for Hugel.
Yep.
So I don't know you all too much outside of the table.
well,
This is our.
To give context, I'd never met any of these guys till session 1.
Yeah.
So 15 minutes before that game started, I was introduced to everyone except Cody at the
We're
table.
like, hi.
How fast?
Fast friends was
Fast
close.
friend. The fastest.
So I wanted to be able to pitch a question to you that might be a little bit more fitting. You did kind of answer it before, but I wanted to pitch it to you this way. Do you see Hugel as any sort of self-insert towards the game, or is it something entirely separated from yourself as a character that you use purely for escapism?
That was a loaded question.
There's
I've got one for you too. Sit down.
A large part of Hugel, after I sort of started developing him, really came from like I've in the last year really been on like my own mental health journey and stuff like that. So one of the biggest things that I really got into was the ancient Stoics and like Stoic wisdoms, and a lot of that is about dealing with death and attitudes towards that. So a lot of that stuff I put into Hugel, but he's also, I guess, the elements of fake it till you make it happiness. Like my early 20s, like late teens, I fucked up a lot. Then I started, overdoing the friendly, charming party guy that was not me, but it was a way of being, let's not think about the other shit.
Yeah.
And that's a bit of what he is, like what I've gone through. And the same way I was sort of saying to Cody, I have the idea of him going from that and developing as we go. And I find that is a bit of a familiar similarity to what my own path.
Yeah.
But his history is obviously, I've never had kids. I haven't had the early romance situation that he went through that really formed him. I haven't met a god. There's a few differences.
Perfect. Thank you.
So elements for sure that
Yeah.
that I've developed and gotten over my own life have been put into Google, but no, he is very much a fantasy amalgamation.
Yeah. So just enough of yourself to purely be able to get into the character, but still enough fantasy where you can still kind of get away from reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And trying to also delve into elements that I don't have to ever deal with much myself.
Yeah.
Like, I've only had 1 or 2 close family members die in my lifetime, and they've been tough times, but Hugel deals with death all the time.
Yeah.
And it's, so really getting to explore a side of things that I don't do much.
Yeah. That's fair. And I hope one day you do get to meet a god, but in a not death situation.
We all do eventually. We're all mortal, as Hugel said.
We're all
But yeah,
eventually
no,
dust.
I do really appreciate the answer to that question because I know it can be a pretty loaded question, but it's something I find incredibly interesting with how people build their own characters. On that note, you're next to the chopping block, sir.
What's up?
So, from one comedic relief kind of individual to another,
That's what I do.
I have a truly genuine question for you.
Okay.
I'm putting you on the spot. I hope you're ready, homie.
Putting me on the spot means I'm not ready. Let's go.
No, you can be prepared. You can.
You can't be prepared to be put on the spot.
Yeah,
That's
you
the whole
fucking
fucking
can.
point about
Think
being
fast on your feet.
Now, what truly motivates you at the table as a player? Like, what fuels that spark? What makes you want to come back to the table every day? Every fortnight.
I can tell you right now, if it was every day, I would not be.
We love honesty.
Yeah. But, like, what brings you back? What is that driving force for you as a player that makes you come back and want to be here and participate?
Hang around with you guys.
That's
Aw.
it. That's cute.
If I'm going to be 100% honest with you, when it comes to gaming, I don't give a fuck about the games or what I play. It's who I play it with. Whether it's...
Aw.
like, that's just everything. Like,
My
whether,
heart.
like online gaming, tabletop gaming, I do it for the connection with people. Like, I don't care what happens on the table or during the game. It's just being able to chill out and chat with people. So, yeah. I'm a very sociable person, and I don't get to do that much. So, yeah. There you go.
That's
Look
fair.
at
Good
that.
answer.
Yeah.
It's funny realizing as you get older, you like lose a lot of that.
Yeah.
Like me and my roommate joke all the time. It's like our bench is getting thinner. Like
Yeah.
mates move away, everything. So having a group, like in meeting this new group of friends, I find the same sort of thing. Like it's great to be able to come and hang out with a different group of people.
I mean, I moved to China when I was 22, and I've got, other than you guys, like literally there's no connection here. So I moved back here with no one, and then boom, D&D came along, and I'd already been playing D&D in China with my friends back then. So it was like my chance to actually make some friends, like meet people.
Dive in.
It is so hard to meet people when you're like over the age of 25. Like it is fucking insane. You can't just go to a bar or anything like that and just, hey, I'm a random 28-year-old man. You want to be friends? Like it doesn't work like that. So
Yeah.
I hate
look,
going
fair.
to bars now. That's the other
Well,
problem.
yeah, that's the other thing. I'm fucking too old for that shit. Like,
Yeah.
hangovers last days now, not hours. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I do it for the social side of things. Like, it's just a nice little escape where you can literally do whatever the fuck you want. No one really cares. So yeah, there you go.
Nice.
Next.
Damn.
Ha! I
You're
wasn't
up
prepared,
next.
but I got it anyway.
Yeah. Honestly, quite proud of that response. I'm thankful. Yeah.
Yeah, good
I
stuff.
reach across the table, but it's too big.
Look. That's such a first world DM problem. My table's too big. I can't high five you. Sorry.
Okay.
I am happy to keep shooting questions off,
Please.
unless you want to have a go.
Now, what's your question?
You got good question.
I was gonna say, I like
So-
being this 20 question thing when people ask me the questions. It's nice.
So you've actually already technically answered your question for me, because what I wanted to ask you was about how Zero has been cut a lot differently to all the characters I've witnessed you play in the past. Like, I've seen you do your headstrong characters and headstrong characters and headstrong characters, and then your fun characters and your comedic relief characters, but I've never truly seen you pull a Zero like this, and I thought that was quite interesting. My question was initially, what was the catalyst that sparked that change? What was the real turning point that made you want to truly go down this path of trying something different?
I think, like, because I've been playing TTRPGs for a hot minute. I mean, I think, how am I now? I'm 26. Yes, I've been playing for about 11 years now, in quite a few different systems. I've always liked to, like, try something new, learn something new every time, learn the system inside and out, and the only way to do that is to do something different every time. But you kind of, like, end up copying and pasting the personality over, and it sort of starts to follow the same stream no matter how many times you change the race or the class. If you've got a natural groove of what you're comfortable in, sometimes you will just find yourself taking that character down the same path every single
That's
time.
humanity, believe.
The comedic relief part, like that's me. I
Yeah.
struggle so hard to not say shit. Like, like just then.
Yeah. No, that's...
Pass that battery.
Oh, yeah, we'll
Prime
change it
example.
over. But I've watched other players do pretty much the exact same thing every time they play. Like a similar race, a similar class, a similar personality. And for me, if I can't elicit a different dynamic to be a part of, I'm going to create that different dynamic myself.
Yep.
I don't want to keep playing the same game over and over, whether or not that be because I'm repeating myself or because someone else is. Because at the end of the day, like everything else, you do it enough, it gets tedious. And so obviously people have their comfortable niches of what they want to do, and that's completely fine. If you want to play to your strong point, play to your strong point. That's completely fair enough. But I'm there to create a new story and walk down a new path as much as I possibly can every single time I play. Because, like, be realistic. How many times are you going to pick up the same fucking book and read it over and over and over again? Go on, how many times have you done it with the one book in a row?
Jurassic Park. too many.
I've read
But
Harry Potter like
I
7
do
times.
get the point you're trying to make. It can be
Yeah.
quite tedious and incredibly boring to some more.
It's like you're
Not me,
foretelling
folk.
your own adventure every time because you know where you're
That's
going to go.
exactly
Yeah.
right. And so, like, I thought, I'm not going to sit there and, like, berate someone for doing that. Like,
Yeah.
that's not fair. That's what they're comfortable with. And if that's what they want to do, that's their fucking game. They're
Yeah.
more than welcome to do that. So if I want to change the dynamic, I have to be the dynamic change myself.
Yeah.
And so I thought this time, when I'm playing someone, I'm going to do everything different to how I normally do it. I'm going to just go balls to the wall, going to pick a different personality, going to pick a different class, different race, whole different backstory. Going to go for an older character because I normally find that one thing I do when I make a character is I make them as close to my age as possible for ease of role play because then I can sort of understand the age bracket, or I make them younger because, you know, forever young. But this time, when I was making Zero, I was like, at some point, I am going to be older. And I'm not going to feel old. But being this age and making an older character, I'm going to think, damn, that bitch is old. Like, you know, how much fun can an older person possibly be? And you know what? That's probably what my teenage self thought about this age bracket that I'm in now. Like, man, my 20 is gonna be so shit. I can't eat chips and play video games on that. And then I got to 26, I was like, I could eat chips and play video games on that. And when I get to my 30s, I will probably eat chips and play video games on that. I'm gonna do that till the day I die. And so I thought, like, I'm just going to play someone who's more established, is more older, and has their shit together, because this is a fantasy game, and I never will have my shit together.
We're talking
So-
about the game or life? Because never mind.
Oh, I'm talking about life, not having my shit together, and so my fantasy game is playing someone who's older and got their shit together.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah, I know, right?
Make me feel a bit better about it.
But yeah, basically, I wanted to elicit a dynamic change because I don't want to play the same game twice.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter if you're in a different setting or, you know, you've been given different story prompts. There's always that, you got like the main campaign storyline and then you sort of got that underlying character arc. And you know what? This, I could play a similar version of a million times and I wouldn't care. But as long as I'm changing this every single time, what happens here can be completely different, be interpreted completely differently, or mean something completely different to the character and therefore have a different ending for the PC. So that is why I made Zero the way I made Zero. That was the catalyst.
Yeah.
Because
Because
I hate copy and pasting.
entirely for footnote, hate copy and pasting. But honestly, honestly, compared to, again, the characters I've seen you play in the past, I think you've done an absolutely fantastic job with what I've seen of Zero so far, and I cannot fucking wait, excuse my French, to see how far this goes. Like, I cannot wait to see all those nitty-gritty bits of detail and backstory that are just always so fucking tasty when you make it. Now, while she's embarrassed, it's your turn.
Point that thing at me.
So,
You aim at the king, you better not miss.
I don't intend to. I couldn't possibly go ahead without asking the DM a question because, God forbid, you don't get asked enough.
What's happening right now?
So, after all these years, after all your life experiences, the highs and lows, what truly drives you forward to create the best content you possibly can? What truly inspires you? Better yet, what is your muse for all in which you guide us through at the table?
That's deep.
That was like... That was nuclear bomb.
Told you I wouldn't miss.
You should be running interviews. Like, for everyone.
Yeah.
So, sorry, just so I don't construe my words again, what was the first sentence of, like, the actual question at the end?
So it was truly like, what drives you forward to create the best possible content
Okay.
you can?
Okay. I think I kind of brushed over it last night when we were driving home. It's for me, I got into a lot of this stuff through, I believe a lot of us did, through Games Workshop's Lord of the Rings war game, when that was a thing. My biological dad used to buy me the miniatures and the paints and stuff, and I used to just paint them all the time. And the thing is, I was like 14, 15 years old, and I really enjoyed it because I loved the concept of it, but I suffered in that era where Games Workshop was super jaded, and they, unless you came in and you knew everything about it, they just didn't give a fuck, man. And like, I was like a 14-year-old kid.
Did you ever go to the one? Oh, never mind. You know what? Oh,
Browns Plains?
Yeah.
That's where I went.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fucking assholes, bro.
They were assholes, yeah. Like that particular one was not ideal, and I didn't like it.
Absolutely.
Damn, it got a reputation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't ideal.
Nah.
And the problem was that turned me away from doing it, and like afterwards from that, that's when I stopped doing creative writing. I stopped doing tabletop gaming and all that sort of stuff, and I only came back into this. I kind of got a reintroduction back to D&D when my cousin Josh was playing 4th edition before 5e came out. And I thought that was awesome. I was like, this fucking rules, man. And then like 6 years ago, Marco knew that I was getting back into watching Critical Role. I started watching Critical Role and I started getting back into it, so he bought me the starter set way back when. And we ran a game, played for like 3.5 hours. My brother played with us as well. It was good fun. And I was like, it ruled. And I slowly, on the back burner, got myself back into D&D, like watching all the live plays and reading all the books and all that sort of stuff. And it took years until eventually I ran our home game and did it. And when I started running the home game, I was like, I knew that there was a bunch of like D&D podcasts around, and a lot of them were not from here in Australia. Now, granted, I don't see myself as an Australian. I see myself as third-generation Greek immigrant, so it's very different. But this is not a downplay on any other Australian groups at all. I think what they're doing is incredible, and there's been some great stories that I found myself really invested in, and I enjoy it. But the way I was looking at it, I was like, no one was doing a variation of that high fantasy that I liked, which was something that was a bit more grim and a bit more like
Nasty.
Yeah, nasty. Like, and I'm not even talking about this. I'm talking about when we started doing ODAM. Like ODAM of Dice and Magic, our original podcast, was still classic high fantasy, and it was based off the world from the homebrew from the home game that we did. But there was a bit more darker repercussions to the actions in the games that were happening, and it was very and I didn't really get a chance to explore how dark it was going to get. There was a lot of things in there that I was really going to start pushing the boundaries of what you guys as players thought could happen in a game and what the characters could think was going to happen in a game. And obviously when eventually that ended, I was like, I don't want to waste the concept of doing something that's like D&D but like nasty. So when it came to doing this variation, and even now I've been DMing for groups outside of the show, like at the game shop, which is all still based in my own world, and that's helping me develop other parts of the world that I haven't developed yet. And for me, what it is to create the best content I can. It's like I'm just driven by the fact that every time I run a game, it sounds silly, but every time I run a game, someone has come up to me and says, "Oi, the way that you described that thing was sick. Oh, the way that you narrated that whole sequence was really cool. Oh man, I love the way you talk about how monsters do stuff." And to me, it's like super validating, because it's like all that time where like some of like my mates outside of the sort of group, like outside of tabletop, have gone, "Oh, you know, D&D a bit weird, bro. That's a bit nerdy, don't you think?" I'm like, yeah, but like you don't get it like I get it. Like, you know what I mean? Like you don't understand what I get from it, and where like that brings positivity. And then to go like, hey, this dark gothic horror fantasy, like cosmic horror thing that you're running, as much as it was like, oh wow, that's crazy, it's like I really enjoyed it and I can't wait to play more. And I was like, okay, I found a niche that works for me and I can develop it. And then when it got to the point where it's like we were talking about possibly recording another podcast, and Seb goes, "No, fuck it, let's make it a show and do it like with cameras." I was like, okay, I think we can do it this time, and I think it'll be good. And the best part, what I do, the best thing for me is every time something new gets dropped, I can see everyone at the table like foaming at the mouth, like to want more, and I'm like, oh, they feel about this story as much as I feel about this story. So I only have the drive to create more better content because you guys have the drive to receive it and want to act on it and do more and enjoy it. And that in turn becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy of I will continue to create if you guys continue to want to receive it and enjoy it, that's what it is for me, at least for that first half. What was the second half of that question? Back to you, Tom.
What truly inspires you, or better yet, what is your muse that has guided
you? Red, yellow, leather.
This is why I don't do interviews, because I get tongue-tied.
This is why you don't do them live.
We can cut that out.
Yeah, it's the magic of editing.
What is your muse for all in which you guide us through at the table? Your true muse.
That's tricky because I draw so much inspiration for like how I want things to go. I pull so much from different modules and different books and different like things that I've listened to. But for me, I guess if we're talking only right now, like in this 5e campaign, I know, weird noise, right? Look at these guys. And we have a multitude of game systems that we intend to run for different games because we know this 5e campaign will drag out for a long time. So we plan to do like miniature arcs that are like 4 or 5 or 6 episodes long in other systems where I can develop it. But for this main 5e campaign, my driving force, I don't really have a muse because I pull from so many different things. But for me, I want to see what happens when you put characters who can either be bad people that just do bad things because they have to or they've chosen to do them, or they're good people that have been destroyed by the world around them. What happens when they get airdropped into a world that truly doesn't give a shit about them? You know what I mean? Because I think nothing breaks a human being more than when they really get to that point in their life where they can look out the window and realize that they're actually truly alone in the world. And there have been several points in my life where I felt that way about certain things, and it was hard to get up every day and go to work and keep doing the same things. And for me, now that I'm past that point and I feel so much better getting beyond that point, I feel like it'd be such a crazy thing to explore safely, like in a game where it is just a story, you know what I mean? Those repercussions don't exist outside the table, you know what I mean? Obviously you think about them and you're like, oh man, that was and like you lose your mind. But it's like, I was like, man, what that put me through was insane. Imagine what that would be like in a world like this, where there are godly beings and there are monsters that can sunder an entire nation, and you're just insignificant in the eye of the overall thing because you are but one person. You know what I mean? So to make this world where it's like, it's really dark and it's really like dangerous, and be like, it's basically like a twisted social experiment, I guess, maybe. And I don't even know if my words are really making sense as I vomit them out. But it's like just the idea of being like the experiences that I went through in real life, to then turn around and be like, man, I really wonder how this would make 5 like high fantasy characters feel in a world that's like twice as dangerous as real life because of the things that are there, and then building off the attachments that you guys have with characters in your backstories and with each other and all that sort of stuff. Now it's becoming this whole weird social experiment that I just get to sit back and watch, and all I've got to do is just mitigate, and it's wild. It's like a roller coaster. I need a bottle of water after every time. Every session. I'm drowning here. Do you have one for Mon?
Yes, I do actually.
Are you going to call it?
No.
Aww.
I'm going to save that for our next talkback episode.
Yeah, that's a good
Eat
idea.
shit and die.
Answer this. How are you feeling tonight?
Oh, mate.
A guy trying to interview a dude in full plate with a bucket helmet at a medieval fight night. That's all it sounded like. Was a
Was that
bad.
last night?
Yeah.
Oh.
They held a microphone.
Yeah, and it was like...
Yeah, it's like,
Didn't understand
oh.
Man, I feel like he's your
Yeah, that looked like it hurt, dude.
What'd you do?
He just went to that jumper.
Oh, I seen him do the cross-eyed. He was all like, oh. But Fucking Indiana Jones, fucking the like
Skull melting.
Fuck.
Break your hand out of excitement.
Dude.
Oh,
That was that right there.
wonderful question.
Oh.
I appreciate it.
Sick.
Right on the nerve.
Poor
out on the
guy.
lawn.
You know how you get hurt that bad where you want to vomit?
Yeah.
Out on the lawn.
When you hit like a nerve or something, it's all over.
It's all over.
I'm hot and sweaty.
Woo, knees
Take a
weak.
minute.
Man down.
Did you have any more questions, Bailey? You'd like to ask?
No, I've only wrote up one for everyone, just in case, because I was kind of hoping everyone else would kind of have a few questions. But I wanted to make sure everyone got a question at the table, so I made sure to cover.
I was gonna say, most of the questions I'd come up with have kind of already been
Covered?
covered.
Yeah, honestly.
One I do have for everyone is, what was your first experience and what got you into this?
Or D&D in total? Or
Yeah, well, miniature gaming, fantasy game. Like, what was the big determining factor? Like, sort of like what Cody mentioned for me, at like 13, getting those Lord of the Rings magazines with the miniatures and
you
playing
guys
that
sound
with.
way young.
Yeah, dude.
I did that. I played with my cousins for a few years. We made up our own version of it all, which we called
Yeah.
the shop game, which you built armies and fought each other because the rules were too tough for our brains back then.
Yeah.
And then 16, 17, I discovered girls and skateboarding, and I fell off it all for a long
Bye.
time.
I discovered girls in skateboarding.
That was it.
I
Like,
love
I went
that.
from playing golf
That'll
on the
do it.
weekends and playing with toys to skateboarding and interesting girls, and then.
Parents watching you just like, what is happening?
Oh yeah, I got the emo haircut, really skinny white
Putting
jeans.
down MCR.
Yeah, absolutely.
Red
but
fans with the
just
white lasers.
complete- Yeah, I even had the red tie going on, like the skinny
You're
tie.
fucking
Oh my
lying.
god.
I had
Stop it,
shaved
Billy
bleach
Joel
blonde, I had a
Armstrong.
big spike coming down. I made my mum cry with a haircut.
Oh.
So yeah,
You
I
were
went,
like savage.
I went down that path.
Hearing the-
Actual, it's
Hearing
not
that
fake,
difference,
bro.
it's like I made my mum cry with a haircut. I made my mum cry when I got my face tattooed.
Yeah, I went down the punk
I broke
hardcore
bars.
path and stuff like that, and sort of fell off it all. And then just before COVID, I started sort of re-upping that, and I saw some stuff with D&D, and I messaged a few mates, and they were like, "Yeah, I'm keen." So I bought the starter set. I pulled out all my old Lord of the Rings miniatures and set up a game. So then I went balls to the wall. I was obsessed from there on, and I started doing everything again, and it kicked me off. That would have been just before COVID, so around 2019. And since then, I've just become obsessed to a point of starting a YouTube channel about all this stuff, and now I'm a part of this podcast and everything. What was the defining thing for you, like for you guys? Let's start with Bailey, because
Well, for me, for years before I'd even picked up shiny math rocks, me and someone over here had been writing roleplay and fan fiction and all of that awesome stuff. So, fuck, how many years has it been? How many years has it been?
14 when we started, so 12.
Yeah.
Some quick math.
Yeah.
You actually have no idea how much of a math whiz I am.
yeah.
Toot toot.
Jesus bloody Christ. Years and years and years of fan fiction and roleplay and writing all of those things very much were the roleplay beginning. However, I didn't pick up shiny math rocks until this one truly introduced me to Norbane.
Yeah.
Norbane was one of my first interactions with D&D, tabletop RPGs, that whole shtick. I'd heard about it, I knew about it, I'd seen people play it from across the TAFE campus and kind of watched from a distance, but I never sat at the table and participated until Norbane and Solus's campaign.
Oh, that's right, Libra's will. I forget about that. That hot flaming train wreck of a thing.
Buckley and
Whoa.
Solus.
That whole sentence was a roller coaster. I was
That
like,
train
hot-
was also on a roller coaster.
I was gonna say, hot, okay, we're getting a bit seductive train wreck.
Yeah.
Oh, shit, G.
We were screaming, but we were laughing as well, so that's okay.
That's it. And I'm never looking back. I like rolling shiny math rocks too much. That was truly the start point of...
Yeah, like nothing's more satisfying than that. I was going nut 20, hell yeah.
I love my click clacks.
Click
Yeah.
clack. Guess who's back in the house? It was good cracking around. Sorry.
So good.
I fucking love RuPaul so much.
Okay.
I think we should just go in like the clock direction, I guess.
That's anti-clockwise, but yeah, sure.
Clock direction. Okay, it has clock in it. It may be the opposite direction, but it's still a clock direction.
Anyways.
I will never lose an argument.
I refuse.
We can both be wrong. Continue, sorry. Do you want me to do it? I can go.
No, it's coming.
So it was Christmas.
Okay, so I needed a moment because that was just a fucking wild
Sorry.
tangent you went on there. I started, I think the first like sort of like small iteration I did was with my uncle, because my uncle was like right into D&D, and he was a teacher, and he used to bring it into the schools and stuff like that, and he'd teach other kids how to do it. And so when I was a bit younger, he kind of got me into it, and then I sort of fell off it for a while, but nobody I knew sort of in my friend group in high school did that kind of stuff, and so I just sort of like thrown it over the shoulder. I was like, well, that's not a fucking possibility for me. But you know, like doing the like written role play and stuff like that, you know, was great. It was a real good creative outlet. And then one day, I met Steph through actually working with her at Woolworths. One day, you know, we just kind of clicked, and she turned around, she was all like, "You like Dragon Age?" I was like, "I love Dragon Age." And she was like, "You want to do Dragon Age, but for real?" I was all like, "For real?" And she was all like,
It is,
"For
hey.
real?"
It's like, hey.
I was all like, "How do I do that?" She's all like, "You ever played tabletop RPG?" And I was all like, "Many moons ago." She was like, "All right, come on down then." And so I rock up. It's this whole homebrewed system, nothing like I'd ever seen or touched before. And it's very early stages, so there was granted, the foundation of it at that point in time when I started playing it was fantastic, but lots of gaps, lots of like speed bumps to get over and whatnot. But you know what? It was fucking fun. It was a good time. It was a good table. It was a healthy table with good table etiquette, and just people that were willing to help you out and walk you through the process of, you know, kind of doing that stuff. And I think having that as my proper first table to be at, I think if I'd been at any other table that had been less than that standard, I don't think I would have followed it through. Playing with my group at Norbame, they are a perfect example of what a table in perfect synergy looks like. Like, we've just been playing together for so long now that everything just runs like clockwork. I mean, I think, like, I've been playing with them for, like, the past maybe 7 or 8 years. So, and it's just the same people over and over again. And so everything just goes like clockwork, and it's a real comfort game to play for me with comfort people. And so when eventually I came back into D&D, was actually diving back in with Bailey, and it was a purely online one. And respectfully, it was fun at the beginning, and then it was just one of those campaigns that kind of zapped the energy out of you.
Was that the Stride campaign?
Yeah, it ended up becoming a real chore to attend. It didn't make you want to get up and go anymore. It ended up being like you kind of went there to play the story that the person telling the story wanted you to play. There was no room for movement, no freedom. And so it was kind of like, well, if I wanted to do that, I'd just read a book, because it's something that's already predetermined. Like, this isn't what I came here for. And then ended up playing another campaign later on afterwards. And that was a little bit better. I ended up learning a lot of the mechanics for D&D and a few other systems through playing with this particular group. So, you know, I give them that credit. I learned quite a lot, like book-wise. But eventually, I mean, we ended up dropping out at the same time because it was labour-induced, and it was not a good social environment to be in by the end of it. And at that point in time, I'd kind of really thrown the towel in on playing with any other group ever again. I was all like, Norbane, that's it for me. That's my comfort group. Not going outside of that. And then...
You're here.
and then Cody hits me up, and he's all like, you want to play D&D? And like that induced like a nervous feverish. I was like, new people. Lots of new people.
And I felt that the first game.
Yeah. Well, also I hadn't seen Cody in fucking years as well. Like it had been ages since we'd had like a family gathering where everyone was able to attend. And so I was all like...
two different sides of town. There was the whole thing.
Yeah. And so like...
But now we have our own cars.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's
yeah.
all good.
It's exactly right.
Australia is so big. People really like underestimate how
The government made a mistake and let me have a license.
That's the one. And he was all like, come along. And I was like, I was really, really nervous. But we were playing the home game and I got there and I have been... my abs are slowly coming through. I know they are because I have laughed so much since coming to this table. And I've started to enjoy the story again. I've started to enjoy the system again because it was a bit rigid the last time I played it, the way it was presented to me. But coming back to a table to play D&D where it's, you know, no but and yes and instead of just a nah, can't do that, states it in the book, no, you can't do any of that. And being able to come in and grow into a story and help write the story and participate in a story instead of just, you know, doing these little block bit by bits where everything's pretty much predetermined and there's no way of getting out of it. And, you know, that is what really got me back into D&D. And I think... So Norbane was the start of it, but playing D&D at this table has really reinvigorated my passion into TTRPGs, like full stop. And it's actually helped me do better work for the Norbane system since coming, you know, and doing this particular podcast. So, yeah.
It strictly states in the Bible, thou shalt not worship false idols, so stop that in this instance.
You went false, mate.
I'm just talking about, I'm just fucking feeling the love. I love it.
My turn. We were really drunk at a bar one night. And my friend Chad, I think we were at a bar. It was either a bar or work. Either way, Chad was like, do you guys want to play D&D? And now, at this point, I'd never touched tabletop games in my life. I had no fucking idea what was going on. I legitimately thought that D&D was for neckbeards and nerds. Like, I was like, no, this is going to be horrible. Like, it's fucking, no. I think he put like 2 or 3 weeks effort into this campaign. We went we printed off all the information from the D&D books. We paid some random dude in China, and he got them all, printed them all off on like paper. I think it was like 30 cents Australian for everything. Like, whoa.
Holy shit.
Obviously, it's not legal. It's like, it's not...
It's so legit.
Oh, man, everything. We stood around for maybe half an hour, 20 minutes while he printed everything off into, like, paperback books and just gave them to us. And, yeah, we all sat down. I think there was 5 of us for our first campaign. All a bunch of teachers, by the way. None of us had ever played a tabletop game before in our lives, and we had so much fucking fun. It was absolutely insane. Although, we got shit-faced drunk, so it's kind of a bit different with these guys. Like, China, when we played D&D, it was, you just did shit. Like, you got drunk, you did dumb shit, and then you went to the bar afterwards and you continued to drink. Which is a lot of fun. And, yeah, it kind of got me addicted, I guess, to not the game per se, but the interactions I had while playing the game, because it's never the same, literally never the same. And then our group fell apart, which seems to happen quite a lot when I play.
I think that just happens a lot.
Yeah.
Like
That comes with the territory.
Yeah.
I am still the only OG from your first campaign. Here.
Actually, that's true. Yeah, since session 1, yeah, you are the only one left.
The only one still here. same with the old group that I played with. But yeah, we had massive falling outs because people were doing stuff that didn't vibe with the group, and everyone.
I've seen some of those messages, and it was some. They are questionable individuals, so it's probably good that you got out of there.
Some of the stuff, and all that, okay. But yeah, then I came back here, and I had nothing. I had nothing at all, like no friends or no one to talk to or anything like that. I think it'd been maybe 6-7 months. It'd been a while since I'd come back, and nothing had changed. And then I'm pretty sure you put a post up on Facebook being like, "I need people to play D&D.
I need players, yeah.
Man, I stared at that shit for like half an hour, being like, should I say yes? Should I put my hand up? Like, because what if you like don't acknowledge me? Then I'm just sitting on Facebook with just like, yeah, I'll play.
You're just sitting there, no response.
It's like when you ask, like, does anyone want to come do something? And no one comments. Be like, it's like that sort of thing. So I held back, then I was like, fuck it, whatever. Worst you can say is no. So I asked, and you're like, yeah, sure, come down. So then we did our first session, and it was really, really fun. All the people that I met there, Marco, Tarek, Dean.
Yeah, started running the home game at Tarek's house. Yeah.
Did it started at Tarek's and went to Dean's,
then here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is that all? Yeah.
That's all of it. Yeah. And it's been this ever since.
Yeah, the group imploded, and then we tried again, imploded, and then here we are.
And now we've got a great routine.
Yay!
Now
I
we've
love
got
it.
cameras, mics, a beautiful dice-shaped table.
There we go.
Thanks, Dad.
The phoenix rises from
The ashes.
What about you?
Yeah.
Well, I kind of answered it
I was
before.
gonna say you touched on that.
Yeah, I touched on it before. It was the first time I ever saw D&D was at my cousin Josh's house when they were playing 4th edition, and Josh gave me a character sheet and I played for a little bit, which is kind of tight. And I just never played it again, and it wasn't because I wasn't interested. It was just a lot that I was doing at the time. And then I slowly started getting back into it when I was watching Critical Role and Dimension 20. Marco bought me the starter set. We played a game for that. It was awesome. I was like, oh, someday I'll get back into it when I have the time when I'm not working as much. And at that point, like, my life was just in shambles. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do and, like, going through work and stuff. And eventually, when I was like, I couldn't find a group to play in. So I was like, well, if I want to play D&D, I've got to be the DM because that's just how it works.
That's the trap.
That's the trap.
That's how it happens every time.
Then I've come to love it more and more, being able to do so much. And then it became the home game. So we went on to the home game, did that for about 10 months straight. Every Friday night, I think we're playing at one point. We pumped out some games, man. We level climbed heaps. And then Sky came along, and we were still doing games nearly every Friday night. I thought it was every second Friday
Did
night.
we have at one point? We had like 6 people playing, right?
Just 5. No, we only ever peaked at 5.
Yeah.
It started as 3, then it went to 4, then it went to 5.
Get hard past that.
'Cause I
ran a
think
game from
Tarek-
8 people
Did we
once.
lost someone and then got you?
Yeah, I think you lost Tarek and then started playing here, and then I came
Then
in.
Sky came, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, yeah. From that, it's just been this ever since, and it's just been a insanely wild addiction to, like, 3D printing, painting, constructing, buying.
Fucking expensive, dude. And I haven't even done shit.
That's why
I just
Afterpay.
bought dice.
That's why Afterpay exists for us.
Yeah, bro.
But
Shocking.
yes,
Oh, 3D printing changed the game for me.
Oh,
on that.
100%, bro.
I've pumped out so many that we've used, and they
3D
look great.
printing houses now. You know how fucking insane that is?
Yeah,
A whole house with all like pipework and everything included. Sorry.
just out of concrete. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry
Damn.
to segue that, but yeah.
No, that's all good. Yeah, technically, it's still on bar.
On
But
topic.
as we get close to wrapping this one up, because we've actually gone half an hour over what I expected to go, which is crazy.
Should have known better.
I should
Yeah,
should have known better.
Because there's situations like that. Like,
Yep.
always happen someone will say something.
Yeah, exactly.
Go on a tangent.
What I want to put one more question forward to you guys before we leave. What are you looking forward to? What do you think's going to happen? What do you want to happen next?
Campaign
What?
4.
Yeah, like for this campaign, like what are you fanging at? You're chomping at the bit right now. It's like I want to get back in and I want to do that thing. I want to see what happens. Just a quick one around the table each.
I'm tossing up whether I get rid of Daria or not.
Oh, because you were talking
Weird.
about sunsetting characters before. You said you were going to touch base.
Yeah,
on
well,
that.
that's what I thought was going to come up. The
Yeah.
concept of there's been chatter about
I'm still on the fence.
because obviously if who you watched episode 5, if Daria does bite the bullet and go back to the army, that's it. He's off in the army. But that's how natural progression works.
Yeah.
The window has to be there because it just makes sense.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make sure that there was everyone has an opportunity if they didn't like the character they were playing when the campaign started. I am happy for you to out that character
Right.
and bring in someone in. And I have fail safes for everyone to do that. So it's not like that's a very real
I
thing.
was thinking of how you could introduce a bard. It's just man, I get so many like dumb scenarios that just play out in my head and I just giggle. And everyone's like, the fuck's this guy laughing at? Like, it's something funny that I thought of.
He's hearing voices, baby.
Yeah, literally.
But
In a
yes,
non-crazy way, people.
that's fine. I've got a way for that if need be. But that's your thing.
Yeah, that would literally, like that's where I'm at now. Because if I continue with Daria, whatever happens is really up to you guys in the grand scheme of things. Because I'm kind of tagging along with the group. If I bounce out, I can rethink things and be like, what do I want to do? So, yeah, on the fence. Not too sure.
For sure. Okay.
I think I'm really intrigued with Hugo to develop his character. Like I said, I've built weaknesses into him that I want to try and have him grow through. But also, I'm really now getting into the making fantasy relationships. Like, you know, building the friendships in game as I build friendships with you guys in real life. It's a weird crossover there a little bit. So
I never thought of that.
yeah, so like I'm becoming friends with you guys through our fantasy characters.
Yes.
Which is really it's something different. 'Cause every time I ever run a game in the past, it's people that all know each other.
We are
Like,
bonding over something completely false.
yeah, well, there's a lot of psychology that shows like our brain, like, you remember the stuff like it was you.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like they're still experiences just because they happen in our fantasy. It's different.
Fun fact.
It still
yeah, your
plays
subconscious
that,
mind
you know. It's
doesn't
like
know
a
the
real
difference.
experience. So really developing like relationships through someone who isn't me is really fascinating to me from just like a
Yeah.
psychological
Mhm.
perspective.
It's cool, right? That's why I'm very like. I know it's gonna sound weird, but careful about doing bad shit in game because like, it actually makes me feel bad, like in real life.
Oh,
I'm
well,
like,
it happened when like Dario was sad about losing his mate, and Hugo's very about death because of his own defense mechanisms. And I'm like, oh, everyone dies, he'll be fine. I feel bad saying that.
Like, when you were asking me questions about Dario, I was like, I'm gonna cry. You would get into me personally, so it's like, yeah.
It's
Yeah,
really
I
interesting
get what
though,
you mean,
especially
yeah.
first time being a player.
Projecting.
So I was the forever DM before, so this is my first time really going in depth on a character, whereas normally I'm in and out with different characters as my people move around, and I'm more pulling the strings for a bigger world. So
Oh, that's cool. Man.
yeah, seeing how he develops and the relationships develop is something that I'm very fascinated to see how it goes.
From my experience, like just playing with you guys, have you been a DM before?
Yes.
Yeah, it seems like the people that have been DMs get so much more in depth with everything, whether it be the character, the story, whatever. Like I've never been a DM, and I'm not fully into it like you guys are. But you three, have you been a DM? Yeah, but you're into it anyway. So
Yeah.
I think it's the kind of person too, though. Like you're
Yeah.
developing your own game.
Yeah,
I
everyone's got,
studied
like-
world building and narrative storytelling as my
You're
electives at
invested
uni.
into
Like
it,
that sort of stuff is just what gets
So
me
stop,
going.
don't stop being friends with me because I'll never come back.
For me, I'm looking. This is because I have a hard time keeping my mouth shut because I get really excited about stuff and I'm like, I want to tell fucking everyone everything. But I'm looking for backstory payoff essentially because like then it's like I don't have to keep it a secret anymore. I can tell everybody everything. I can tell them all my secrets because I'm sick of holding on to them, man. I'm terrible at keeping secrets. I don't want to get it out there.
I can feel the energy.
Oh, I'm so bad at keeping secrets. So like Bailey could be all like, "Yo, listen, man, I killed a man." I'd be all like, "Your secret's safe with me." Hey, I need you to not.
Go straight to the cop.
But Bailey's killed a man.
See, you
Don't
roleplay in
tell
real
me.
life. So when we're roleplaying,
Art imitates life, dude. No, I like that, and I can see what you mean though, because it's become very obvious now, especially coming into episode 5, that it's those backstory payoffs.
I'm just excitable. Like I'm just really excited to like get all the good facets. Like I'm interested to find out about everybody's backstory. I'm really excited to see not just my own, but everybody else's sort of backstory payoff if any of the players are after that, because at the end of the day, like. There's a fantastic world you've built and you've put all that effort into, and I want to experience it to its entirety. But also, on the side, there are a few players that have put a lot of effort into their character and their backstory. And there is nothing more disappointing than writing up pages and pages of information about your character that nobody ever gets to find out. And so, like, because, you know, like, if you're sort of, like, doing, like, a sort of natural unfolding about your character's backstory in the story, like, in the campaign setting itself, if there's never really an opportunity for that to come forth, it's... I find it disappointing if I come up with a really elaborate backstory of my character and it barely gets touched on, like, even on a surface level. So I'm really excited to see sort of the effort that everyone's put into their characters sort of come and integrate into the story, and it kind of gets revealed, and, you know, I get to learn more things in depth about the characters. So I'm really looking forward to that for everyone at the table, actually. So, yeah.
I got my first taste of that really with Hugh. That backstory I built for him was really just for me to understand his motivations for things, because I had the character built, but I didn't really know why he was motivated that way. And I came to that conclusion. I'm like, that fits perfectly to given that motivation. Didn't know or think it would come up maybe ever, if at all.
Yeah.
And to actually have it come out, I was like, whoa, that felt...
I know,
that was,
yeah.
Whoa, that really brings...
Yeah.
It brings realism to the characters when
Yeah.
the histories you've got that drive them start to pour out.
Yeah. No, I love it. I go feral for that stuff. But yeah, that's me.
I can't wait. I can't wait for Voyage to get his first chip on his shoulder.
Like his first bad interaction that like really sours him, like one of those
The
things.
first thing that really just messes with him a little. Like just that first little tip on the decline. Because so far he's this perfectly polished, I'm so fine and naive, nothing can hurt me. And then something's going to hurt him. I can't wait for that catalyst. I can't wait
That's
for
character
that
development right there.
starting point. That really gets the ball rolling.
It's funny that that's what your final thought is, because for me, even though like I wrote the question, what it is for me is every DM has a part of a homebrew campaign that they thrive in the most. The city, Hunt and Phrase itself, is my bread and butter. That was the first thing I developed from top to bottom. I can run that city with my eyes closed. And now that we're there, it gives me enough that I can keep you guys entertained and keep the story rolling while working on everything else out the back that's not related to the city. But now that you're there, I think it's become very understandable that you all have, bar two of the characters there, everyone has stepped into a reality that they kind of didn't know existed, and inside the walls of this place, it's fucking bad. It's not good. And I think the point has been made that it's only going to get worse. And that's what I look forward to the most, because only the toughest circumstances truly make or break people. Even in this out of context fantasy game that we find ourselves playing. So that's what I'm excited for.
Yeah, there's a naivety to our three characters that is going to be
The hardest thing I've
woken.
ever been through is my military boot camp. Like, that's it. Like, my daddy had me fucking sorted. I was very wealthy and taken care of. So, yeah.
And now it's not worth shit.
Well, have I seen the city before? It's like, no.
You saw Pan and Phrase,
Yeah,
but
I've
you've
been
never
to
seen
other
Hun and
cities,
Phrase.
and I
So
haven't-
you've only ever seen the it's like you've only ever seen the good one.
Exactly.
You've not seen the
The slum.
the slummed one. Yeah, exactly, the dirty one.
My boy's like, what the fuck is going on? And that's probably, well, actually, that is part of the reason why he's like, yeah, do I really want to be like a go-getter warrior that's like,
It's like the home
defend the system?
Yeah, where you been?
Literally. So.
As I got my Gucci from Kmart. That's the best I can think of. Well, that's.
Sorry.
I think that's no, you're all good. I think that's going to be it for today. We've had some wonderful questions. We've got some really good insights. We've definitely gone a way longer than I expected. It was meant to be an hour. It's now 2.5 hours long. But thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in and having a sit down. Hopefully, this gave some insight into how we've developed the world and our characters. And there'll be more of these every maybe 5 or 10 episodes. We'll slip another one. Now, I probably want to aim for every 5 to give it a nice breakup, so we can have like time off the actual campaign to just really sit and decompress and think about what we've done. But yes, if you liked it and this has given you some good insight, please leave more questions on our social media, down in the comment section. Like, subscribe, all that bogus stuff. Thanks for sitting around and thanks for being here. Thanks for you guys for coming on the adventure with me. 5 episodes down, it's been a riot, and now we're really getting into it. But with that being said, this is going to be the end of Tales from the Tome Table, and we'll see you all in the next one. Good night.
Bye.